Chapter 1989. Lao Liang was the middle-aged man from earlier. The lady standing beside Lao Liang was Lao Liang's wife, Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan was born into a wealthy family. She was a match for old Liang, who was already well off to begin with. Actually, that was not the case. Lao Liang's family background was the same as Gu Yunjian's, who was born into a wealthy family. Both Lao Liang and Gu Junjian were born into wealthy families, so they could not decide on their marriage. However, Gu Yunjian's ex-wife ran away with another man, so the marriage was annulled. Lao Liang was a senior executive in his company, and his wife, Yu Yuan, was also forced on him by his parents. Yu Yuan was an unreasonable and troublemaker to begin with, so old Liang didn't like her. Lao Liang and Yu Yuan even had a daughter named Liang Xiumin. Liang Xiumin was the daughter who did not listen to Lao Liang. Her father did not agree, but Liang Xiumin insisted on having a boyfriend. This time, Liang Xiumin was forced to come to Wenzhou by Lao Liang. Liang Xiumin reluctantly called her boyfriend over. And he was almost here. Lao Liang knew that Gu Junjian was coming out to have fun, so he came over because his company was on holiday. Now that he saw his old friend, Gu Junjian, whom he had not seen for a long time, Lao Liang forgot about his daughter and walked over to hug Gu Junjian. Because of many things, Lao Liang could not leave Gu Yunjian's second wedding, so Lao Liang felt a little apologetic. Now that he saw Qin Yiru, Lao Liang even said apologetically to her, "Sister-in-law, I did not make it to your wedding. Please forgive me." Lao Liang did not come, but he did not forget the gifts. Qin Yiru naturally remembered who was good and who was bad. Therefore, Qin Yiru also said a few words of courtesy. Other than Yu Yuan and Liang Xiumin, who did not talk to Qin Yiru or Gu Junjian, Lao Liang was very friendly. In the end, it was old Liang who forcefully introduced his daughter, Liang Xiumin, to Yun Jian. However, at that time, Liang Xiumin was at odds with her father and did not want to talk to anyone. It wasn't until Liang Xiumin's boyfriend, Jin Yu, arrived that Liang Xiumin finally opened her mouth and her bad mood improved a little. Liang Xiumin's boyfriend, Jin Yu, was dressed like a gangster. In this era, tattered pants were not popular, and boys or girls wearing tattered pants would give people the impression that they were hooligans. At this moment, Jin Yu was wearing a pair of ripped trousers, walking over from a distance with an air of arrogance. There were a few young men and women beside Jin Yu. They were dressed similarly to Jin Yu, and it was obvious that they were gangsters. When Liang Xiumin saw Jin Yu, she was still smiling. But when she saw the boys and girls beside Jin Yu, her face sank. "My dad was unhappy when he knew you were coming. Why did you bring others here?" Jin Yu's looks weren't bad, but he was a proper gigolo. "Didn't everyone want to come and have some fun? So I brought them here. We've already spent all our money on the tickets. Xiumin, we'll have to rely on you for the rest of the money." Jin Yu tricked Liang Xiumin in the dark. As he spoke, Jin Yu moved closer to Liang Xiumin and added suggestively, "I love you, so I came even though I don't have any money with me. All right, don't be mad anymore." Yun Jian heard Jin Yu and Liang Xiumin's secret conversation. It was obvious that Jin Yu was lying to Liang Xiumin. After all, the Liang family was rich and affluent. What did that have to do with Yun Jian? As Liang Xiumin and Jin Yu spoke, Yun Jian had already returned to the hotel with Ce, Qin Yu, and the others. It was 8 in the evening when Qin Yu came to ask Yun Jian out. "Sister Jian, there's a casino on the second floor of this hotel. Do you want to go play a few rounds?" Ce and Yun Yi were both called over by Gu Junjian to play chess with him and old Liang. Ce naturally agreed to his future father-in-law's invitation. Oasis Hotel was an AAA-rated National Green Hotel. The facilities in the hotel were luxurious, with hot springs, massage parlors, and more. There was even a chess room. Once Yun Jian recalled what Ce had done to her in the afternoon, she nodded and agreed to Qin Yu's request. With the mysterious man still alive, her safety was at risk at all times. It was best if she did not get pregnant now. It was not that Yun Jian did not want to bear Ce a child. Therefore, while Ce was not around, Yun Jian planned to go to the pharmacy downstairs to buy an emergency morning after pill. Of course, Yun Jian dared not let Ce know that she was going to buy the pill. Yun Jian's period had been irregular for the past 2 months. She was afraid that if she really got pregnant, she would not be able to fight the mysterious man and would be a burden to Ce. Yun Jian did not think about the consequences if Ce found out about her buying the morning after pill. Chapter 1990. Sure. Yun Jian agreed to Qing Yu's invitation. She could buy the morning after pill from the pharmacy downstairs when they went to the casino later and consume it secretly. Who would not know that? Qing Yu had actually come over to ask Yun Yi to gamble with Yun Jian at the casino when she was not around. Yun Jian was known as the female gambling god by the group of old men with the best gambling skills in the international gambling industry. Yun Jian had even gambled away a month's worth of profits at the internationally renowned Feng Yun Casino for a night. 1 billion USD. Her gambling skills were astounding. That was why Qing Yu had come over to ask Yun Jian out, planning to have Yun Jian bring her, a poor person with mediocre gambling skills, to win big. Both of them had just left the room and went down to the second floor of the hotel when they bumped into Liang Xiumin, Jin Yu, and the rest. Liang Xiumin pouted and followed Jin Yu and the rest to the casino unwillingly. Don't worry, what's so scary about the casino? I'll protect you. Moreover, we're not betting much so the chances of winning are high. Even if we lose, it won't cost much. Xiumin, your family is so rich, you wouldn't care about such a small amount of money, would you? Jin Yu was still baiting Liang Xiumin when she caught sight of Yun Jian and Qing Yu just as she said that. Jin Yu stopped what she was about to say immediately. From what Jin Yu had said to Liang Xiumin when she first appeared and what happened afterward, it could be seen that Jin Yu was a gigolo. Liang Xiumin's father, old Liang, was the general manager of a high-tech company and was very wealthy. Jin Yu had her eyes on Liang Xiumin's family's wealth since the beginning. Liang Xiumin was not particularly pretty but she was still acceptable. For the sake of money, Jin Yu got close to Liang Xiumin, who appeared to be high and mighty but was actually quite gullible. It was a coincidence that they bumped into Yun Jian at the entrance of the hotel casino, and it shut Jin Yu's mouth to bluff Liang Xiumin. Jin Yu had already seen Yun Jian at the gate. It had to be said that Yun Jian's appearance was too attractive. Jin Yu was attracted at a glance. Seeing that Yun Jian was going to the casino, Jin Yu put down her sugar daddy, Liang Xiumin, and hurriedly waved at Yun Jian. Hey, we met at the entrance just now. You're the daughter of Xiu Min's father's friend, right? Why did a girl like you come to the casino? Don't tell me you know how to gamble? As she spoke, Jin Yu flipped her short black hair. This was Jin Yu's way of flirting with girls. There were very few girls who weren't attracted to Jin Yu. To be honest, Jin Yu's looks were indeed not bad. She was fair and clean, and her bones revealed a youthful aura. He was the type that many young girls liked and pursued. However, Yun Jian was not interested in this type of thing at all. Yun Jian ignored her and went to the casino with Qing Yu. Hey, why is she ignoring us? Liang Xiumin wanted to call out to Yun Jian when she saw this. Forget it. She should be the more aloof type, Jin Yu said as she stopped Liang Xiumin while watching Yun Jian walk into the casino. A few of Jin Yu's friends stood beside her. They were all gangsters like Jin Yu. Among them, a girl named Tong Liwei thought of a tall and handsome figure when she saw how Yun Jian ignored Jin Yu and walked into the casino. Tong Liwei was envious when she saw how Ce held Yun Jian's hand at the entrance earlier. She wanted to have such a handsome and outstanding boyfriend as well. Therefore, she had the urge to snatch Ce away from Yun Jian. Tong Liwei had always been someone who would act on her thoughts. Now that she saw Yun Jian walk into the casino, she could not help grumbling in front of everyone. This girl is probably from the triads. She must be someone who doesn't know how to behave if she can enter a place like this. The handsome man did not follow her, which meant that Yun Jian had snuck in. Thinking of this, Tong Liwei had the urge to catch Yun Jian's misdeeds and let Ce see Yun Jian's true colors. Ce would probably look down on Yun Jian this way. When Ce was traumatized by the breakup, she would go and comfort him. After all, young men and women would be hurt for a long time after breaking up. Then, would it not be a matter of time before she took office? Tong Liwei smirked, feeling pleased with herself for having such a thought. Chapter 1991. Yun Jian did not know nor was she interested in what Tong Liwei, Jin Yu, and the rest were thinking. By then, Yun Jian had already entered the casino on the second floor of Oasis Hotel. The casino on the second floor of Oasis Hotel was not big but it was not small either. Yun Jian caught a whiff of the thick scent of cigarette smoke as soon as she walked in. There was a foul stench mixed in as well. There were no guards at the entrance of the casino, so Yun Jian and Qing Yu walked in easily. Yun Jian was beautiful with a hint of playfulness amidst her exquisite features. Yun Jian was already 18 years old at the time and had blossomed into a slender and elegant woman. Her voluptuous figure and perfect but gave men a sense of conquest just by looking at her from afar. Yun Jian still had her hair tied up in a high ponytail. Looking from afar, she gave off the illusion that she was spirited and so beautiful that one could not take their eyes off her. Therefore, when Yun Jian walked into the casino, a few middle-aged men or bald men who were counting cards with their legs crossed or shaking wretchedly sat up straight and straightened their backs when they saw Yun Jian. Where did this woman come from? She's so pretty. She looks just like a movie star. Her skin is so soft and tender. However, the men around them only took a few more glances at Yun Jian and did not have any other thoughts. Liang Xiumin, Jin Yu, Tong Liwei, and the rest followed closely from the main entrance. Liang Xiumin and the rest who came in later saw Yun Jian and Qing Yu walking toward the manager of the casino. What's she doing? Does she know the manager here? Tong Liwei, who wanted to target Yun Jian and find her flaw so that CE could see the true colors of a person like Yun Jian, blinked. Tong Liwei thought to herself, this woman is a B***starred indeed. How could she deserve the love of such a handsome man? Such a handsome man should belong to me. Tong Liwei. Tong Liwei thought there was something wrong with Yun Jian when she saw Yun Jian walking toward the manager of the casino. Tong Liwei even wondered if Yun Jian was the secret mistress of the casino's manager. Everyone could see that the manager of the casino was a fatty who was not even 1.68 meters tall but weighed about 200 caddies. The fat on his body could be rolled into a lump. Just looking at him was enough to make one lose their appetite. Once she thought that Yun Jian could be the mistress of such a person, Tong Liwei was so excited that she wanted to get CE here right away and let CE see Yun Jian's true colors. Hey, what are you doing? When Jin Yu saw Yun Jian walking toward the manager of the casino, he dashed forward to block her way. Glancing around, Jin Yu told Yun Jian softly, "Don't worry. What's a little girl like you doing here?" This kind of place was usually under the protection of big shots from the underworld. They were people from the underworld. Can you afford to offend them? Leave quickly. Don't hurt yourself. Jin Yu sounded like he was thinking for Yun Jian, but he was actually thinking for Yun Jian. In spite of it, Jin Yu was not thinking for Yun Jian for no reason. He had a purpose in mind. He had a motive, to win Yun Jian's affection for him. It was also Jin Yu's flirting tactics that won him the affection of many girls. Everyone thought that Jin Yu was a good man. However, Jin Yu was flirting with the wrong person today. The person he was flirting with was Yun Jian. Move. Yun Jian did not even look at Jin Yu. I'm doing this for your own good. Yun Jian walked around Jin Yu and continued to walk toward the manager of the casino. With Qing Yu blocking him, Jin Yu could not get to Yun Jian. What does she mean? Aren't we doing this for her own good? Although Liang Xiumin ignored Yun Jian in the beginning and acted like a spoiled brat, she was still a nice person when it came to critical moments, even though her tone was easily misunderstood. Liang Xiumin really wanted to turn around and call her father or good Yun Jian to stop Yun Jian, afraid that Yun Jian would do something irreversible. Tong Liwei, who was beside her, brainwashed Liang Xiumin about Yun Jian. I think she must know the manager of this casino. She might even be the woman lying under his crotch. Just as Tong Liwei spoke, the crowd saw Yun Jian standing in front of the manager of the casino. Her frigid gaze flickered as her arrogant, haughty voice rang coldly and echoed throughout the place. You're the manager here? If you don't want to lose your casino in the next 10 minutes, get your best gambler to come out and bet with me. Chapter 1992. When Yun Jian said this, her tone was flat, so flat that no one present could tell whether she was happy or sad. But the flat words that came out of Yun Jian's mouth sounded extremely arrogant in the ears of everyone present. Yun Jian had a kind of innate magical power. She used a tone that was so flat that no one could tell whether she was happy or sad, but she could say such arrogant words. At least when she said this, everyone was stunned for a moment. Where did this girl come from? She was so arrogant. As soon as she said this, even the person in charge of the casino, a man in his 30s or 40s who was less than 1.68 meters tall and weighed at least 200 kilograms, looked at Yun Jian. Many gamblers in the casino also stopped their bets and turned to look at Yun Jian. Little girl, you want to bet with the most powerful person in our casino? The person in charge of the casino, a man who weighed around 200 kilograms and was known as Brother Iron Bull, glanced at Yun Jian. Judging from his tone, the aura that he displayed was not at all inferior to Yun Jian's. Some people had a strong aura, but when faced with a truly powerful person, that strong aura would immediately be defeated. For example, this person in charge of the casino who was known as Brother Iron Bull. You're crazy. I've already told you that those who open casinos must have someone backing them. Be careful not to get entangled with them. You won't be able to escape. I'm doing this for your own good. When Jin Yu heard this, he walked closer to Yun Jian and winked at Yun Jian in the softest voice possible. It had to be said that Jin Yu was taking a risk this time to make Yun Jian have a good impression of him. When a normal girl saw a guy who was considered handsome showing so much concern for her, even if this guy had a girlfriend, he would still come up to flirt with Jin Yu. But Yun Jian? She actually ignored him time and time again. The more Yun Jian ignored him, the more Jin Yu wanted to get closer to Yun Jian. Therefore, even though she knew that she couldn't speak carelessly in the casino, not to mention that Yun Jian had already attracted the attention of the person in charge of the casino, Jin Yu still took the risk to stand up and dissuade Yun Jian in order to gain a good impression. Yes. Yun Jian looked at the person in charge of the casino, who was Brother Tai Nyo. She answered softly in front of everyone and still ignored Jin Yu. Haha. It's been a long time since I've met such an interesting girl like you. He even said that if our casino's best player didn't come out to bet with you, you could win our casino in 10 minutes. How arrogant. Come, Iron Bull, will bet with you. Brother Tai Nyo struggled to get up from his seat and waved at Yun Jian. Everyone knew that the Oasis Hotel's casino was backed by a powerful gang in Jia Province. And this powerful gang had a certain cooperative relationship with Jia Province's #1 gang, Falcon Hall. Falcon Hall had a very high status in Jia Province. That was Jia Province's #1 gang. Falcon Hall's boss, Slaying Luo, was a powerful and ruthless character. Although Slaying Luo hadn't fought for 2 years, her achievements in the past still made people's blood boil when they heard about it. Brother Tai Nyo, who was the person in charge of the casino, was also the best gambler in the entire casino. It was said that he had never met a match in the Oasis Hotel's casino. This girl who appeared out of nowhere dared to bet with Brother Tai Nyo? Was she prepared to lose? Jin Yu saw that Brother Tai Nyo had already spoken, so he didn't dare to dissuade her anymore. What if he went overboard and got himself into trouble? He was so young and had a bright future ahead of him. He couldn't lose his future just because of a girl who didn't listen to his advice. Jin Yu was afraid of getting himself into trouble, so when he saw that Yun Jian didn't listen to his advice, he quickly found a reason to get Liang Xiumin, Tong Liwei, and the rest to leave the casino with him. Tong Liwei felt relieved when she saw that Yun Jian was courting death. After all, if one lost a bet and couldn't afford to pay for it, some people even had to use themselves to pay for it. Yun Jian was pretty. If those men won the bet, then wouldn't Yun Jian be? In order to see Yun Jian lose the bet and become the plaything of those men, Tong Liwei urged Jin Yu, Liang Xiumin, and the rest to return to the casino with her half an hour later. However, what they saw wasn't Yun Jian being pawned because she lost the bet, but, big sister, great aunt, my grandmother, my dear grandmother, I beg you to go gamble in another casino. If you continue to gamble, our casino staff will have nothing to eat. I beg you. Please have mercy. Brother Tai Nyo, who had been full of vigor earlier, was now kneeling and begging Yun Jian for mercy. He looked like he was about to kowtow to Buddha. Tong Liwei, Jin Yu, and the rest were stunned when they saw this. What was going on? Chapter 1993. Why did Brother Tai Nyo, who was in high spirits earlier and thought that winning Yun Jian was just a matter of time, have a bitter expression now? He was just short of kowtowing to Yun Jian and begging for forgiveness? What's going on? Why is the casino's manager kneeling to her? Tong Liwei wanted to see Yun Jian court death and beg for forgiveness from the casino's people, so she ran back to watch the show. But what she saw was not Yun Jian begging for forgiveness from the casino's people, but the casino's manager personally begging Yun Jian to be merciful. What exactly happened just now? Tong Liwei was so scared that she almost had a heart attack. She even stuttered when she spoke. Jin Yu, who had been persuading Yun Jian not to provoke the casino, was also scared out of her wits when she saw this scene. She was almost as scared as Tong Liwei. Liang Xiumin, who had always been pampered and spoiled, heaved a sigh of relief for Yun Jian when she saw this scene. Although Liang Xiumin was too lazy to care about Yun Jian after she quarreled with her father, and her tone was as arrogant as a peacock spreading its tail, Liang Xiumin was still kind. After all, Yun Jian was the daughter of her father's friend. If something really happened to her, Liang Xiumin would also panic. Just as everyone's thoughts were turning and everyone was panicking, Yun Jian, who was sitting at the gambling table and being treated like a god by Brother Tai Nyo and the casino's people, played with a die on the table and drew a red arc again. She still wanted to gamble? She still wanted to gamble? My dear aunt. Big sister. This is just a small casino. You can go to a big casino to gamble. I beg you. We're really going to have nothing to eat. My dear aunt. Please be magnanimous and let us go. If you continue to gamble, we'll really go bankrupt. Brother Tai Nyo stood in front of Yun Jian and knelt down and kowtowed. The surrounding regulars, the group of gamblers, had never seen Brother Tai Nyo like this. They were all stunned on the spot. Some of the gamblers were so shocked that they put down the bets in their hands and looked over in this direction. Only a portion of the gamblers saw how Yun Jian and Brother Tai Nyo bet. Most of the people were playing their own games. On the other side, most of the gamblers who saw Yun Jian and Brother Tai Nyo's bet were so scared that their faces turned pale. All right, Sister Jian, I think it's about time to collect the money, Qingyu said with a cheeky grin as she rubbed her hands together. Qingyu was not poor. But money was never too little. When Yun Jian was gambling with Brother Tai Nyo, she was just toying with Brother Tai Nyo. According to Yun Jian's normal standards, she could take away all of the casino's assets in less than 10 minutes. Yes. After listening to Qingyu, Yun Jian felt that it was about time. She still had to go downstairs to buy medicine, so she decided to stop. Here, transfer the money you guys lost to Sister Jian to this card. Qingyu pulled out a card from her pocket and tossed it on the table, just like how Yun Jian won a month's worth of profits in Feng Yun Casino after a night of gambling in her past life. When Yun Jian gambled in Feng Yun Casino back then, Qingyu had followed her to collect the money without any hesitation. Seeing Qingyu toss out the card, everyone was stunned again. Jin Yu, Tong Liwei, and the others who stood a distance away were stunned, but they could not help thinking. There was a backer behind this casino. It was true that Yun Jian won the money, but could she take it away? She had no power or influence. Was she going to fight them head-on? After all, Brother Tai Nyo and his gang were mostly triads. Even if Yun Jian won the money, she might not be able to take it away. Just as Jin Yu, Tong Liwei, and the rest were thinking about it, an employee in the casino pointed at the card with a unique skull symbol that Qingyu tossed out and cried out in shock. What the hell is this? This card. Qingyu's card was marked with the Kosha mercenaries' exclusive symbol in the shape of a skull. Outsiders could not get their hands on such a card. Only the Kosha mercenaries' elders had it. Next to the skull imprint on each of the elders' bank cards, there were their respective nicknames. On Qingyu's piece of paper, there was a simple word, Qing, written beside the skull. Seeing this card, the man who recognized it pointed at the card in front of everyone and exclaimed, "That's right, Mr. Zhang! Isn't this the exclusive card of the Kosha mercenaries' elder Qingyu? There's only one of it in the world. Why is it with you?" Also, I once heard that in the world's largest casino, Wind Cloud Casino, the woman known as the strongest female gambling god, who won a month's income of $1 billion in one night, used this card to swipe the money from Wind Cloud Casino. As the person spoke, he turned his gaping mouth to Yun Jian and exclaimed to Yun Jian in front of Brother Iron Bull, Tong Liwei, Jin Yu and everyone else, "You're the one who's going to die. Could you be the lady gambler, who won a month's worth of profits in the biggest Feng Yun casino in the world?" Chapter 1994. In her past life, Yun Jian was the one who gambled crazily that night in Feng Yun Casino, while Qingyu was the one who collected the money. Therefore, in conclusion, it was Qingyu who collected the money in Feng Yun Casino using her personal bank card. How did this man know so much? My big brother works at Feng Yun Casino. It's all because of him that I can work here. The woman who was called the female gambling god by the international bosses back then had a woman by her side. That woman was probably her subordinate who collected the money for her. That night, She won $1 billion in Fengyun Casino in one go. The gambling method was ever-changing, and the tactics used in every round were different. She could be called the top gambler in the casino. My big brother saw it with his own eyes. He told me that he went from being unconvinced in the beginning to being completely convinced and even idolizing the woman. The woman who collected the money for her next to her threw out a bank card with a skull mark exclusive to the kosher mercenaries. There was a ching beside the skull mark, which meant that this woman's subordinate was from the kosher mercenaries. Seeing that the crowd was confused, the man stared at Yun Jian with his round eyes and shouted in disbelief in front of the crowd. The man was obviously an employee of the casino who worked under brother Tai Niu. Those who stood around, including Jin Yu and Liang Xiumin, turned to look at Yun Jian in disbelief after hearing what the man said. An elder of the kosher mercenaries. If Yun Jian's subordinate, Qing Yu, was an elder of the kosher mercenaries, then who was Yun Jian? The elders of the kosher mercenaries took orders from the boss of the kosher mercenaries. What did it mean that an elder like Qing Yu was following behind Yun Jian? Could she be Yun Jian? She was the one who won a month's worth of profits in Fengyun Casino in one night. $1 billion. Rumor has it that she might be the boss of the kosher mercenaries, the woman known as the female gambling god. Oh my god! How's that possible? She's just a young girl. Someone exclaimed in disbelief while hugging his head. Fengyun Casino was the largest casino in the world. Back then, the mysterious woman brought her subordinates to the casino and gambled for a whole night. The news of her winning $1 billion from Fengyun Casino was spread all over the world, shocking and horrifying countless international bosses and bigwigs. That woman's actions were simply terrifying and frightening. In addition, the woman's subordinate threw out a bank card that belonged to an elder of the kosher mercenaries. It was concluded that the mysterious woman was the boss of the kosher mercenaries. At that time, this incident caused a storm around the world. After all, everyone present often hung out in the casino, so they had long heard of this matter. Now that this matter was brought up again after so many years, everyone present still felt their hearts tighten fiercely. The gamblers in the casino, including the staff, retreated as if they had seen something terrifying, trying to find a place to hide. Tong Liwei and the rest were confused. What was the gambling goddess from Fengyun Casino? Where was Fengyun Casino? What was the kosher mercenaries? Jin Yu had heard of them, but Tong Liwei had no idea. Tong Liwei didn't know what this meant, so she asked very naturally, "What do you mean? What about Fengyun Casino and kosher mercenaries? Why are you so afraid of her after hearing that she's the boss of the kosher mercenaries?" Tong Liwei pointed at Yun Jian as she spoke. Just as Tong Liwei was puzzled, a man from afar looked at Yun Jian in horror. If she's the boss of the kosher mercenaries, then she's slaying God. You don't even know about the kosher mercenaries. Kosher mercenaries is the world's #1 mercenary group. They're on par with the #1 assassin organization, and Hun. And slaying God is ranked #1 on the secret agent ranking, the strongest secret agent in history. Being targeted by her is akin to stepping into a coffin. No one can survive slaying God's saber. A. Chapter 1995. As soon as the man finished speaking, Tong Liwei's eyes widened from a moment ago to shock and fear. What? Slaying God was the top secret agent on the international secret agent ranking. No one could survive slaying God's blade. Slaying God Yun Jian? Yun Jian was only the daughter of Liang Xiumin's father's friend. How could she be the top secret agent on the international secret agent ranking? Jin Yu's eyes widened at the same time until they could no longer widen. Liang Xiumin, as well as Liang Xiumin and her companions, were equally shocked. This result caused everyone present to be in disbelief. However, Tong Liwei, Jin Yu, Liang Xiumin, and the rest had no choice but to believe it based on the reactions of all the gamblers in the casino staff, and the general manager, Brother Iron Bull. After deducing that Yun Jian was the female gambling god from Fengyun Casino years ago and was most likely the boss of the kosher mercenaries, all the gamblers put down their bets. This included the casino staff who abandoned their posts and the general manager, Brother Iron Bull, who weighed at least 200 caddies. This group of people, in front of Jin Yu, Tong Liwei, Liang Xiumin, and the others, did something that made them turn pale with fright. The group of gamblers was so frightened by the possibility that Yun Jian was the boss of the Kosha mercenaries that they hid behind the tables and decorations. Some of them even hid in the corner of the table and trembled, causing the table to shake along with the tremors. Everyone present was a gambler. Gamblers were adults with their own mature and independent thoughts. What did it mean for them to hide in the corner of the table in fear? The boss of the Kosha mercenaries, the top secret agent on the international secret agent ranking, Slaying God, had struck fear into their hearts. They were even willing to abandon their dignity. Tong Liwei, Jin Yu, and the rest were completely dumbfounded. Just as everyone thought so, Yun Jian, who had been silent since the beginning, picked up Qing Yu's bank card from the table. Then, Yun Jian's lips curled into a faint smile that frightened everyone present. Then, she reached for the bank card in front of everyone and tore off the skull mark and the word, Qing, that was Qing Yu's exclusive name beside it. The skull mark and the word, Qing, that was exclusive to Qing Yu were pasted on with a unique sticker. How many times have I told you? Posting things like this can easily scare someone to death. Yun Jian said flatly. With a flick of her finger, the sticker fell to the ground and she passed the bank card to Qing Yu. Qing Yu pouted and took the bank card from Yun Jian. I just thought it was fun. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this. So it turned out that everyone's fear was just a false alarm? In fact, that was not the case. It was true that the Kosha mercenaries' bank cards had the exclusive mark of the Kosha mercenaries. However, outsiders did not know that the mark on the bank card could be torn off like a sticker using a certain method. It could be pasted back next time. The sticker was unique and could not be imitated by outsiders. What? False alarm. What nonsense. I was wondering. How could this young lady be slaying God? It was only then that everyone in the room came out from the corners of the table, wiping away their cold sweat with a wave of their hands. They had to admit that the crowd was terrified when slaying God's name spread. Tong Liwei recovered from her shock as well. Knowing that Yun Jian was not slaying God, Tong Liwei looked at Yun Jian in disdain. Why are you acting all high and mighty? How shameless. You even snatched such a handsome boyfriend. You're not worthy of that handsome man. She, Tong Liwei, would snatch her boyfriend away. Chapter 1996. Tong Liwei actually did not know what slaying God and Kosha mercenaries represented. She was a student, about the same age as Yun Jian. Jin Yu was in the underworld and Tong Liwei knew him, so she tagged along to have fun. Liang Xiumin had to pay for all the expenses of Jin Yu's friends, including Tong Liwei. Liang Xiumin was dumb enough to pay the bill obediently after being tricked by Jin Yu. As for a girl like Tong Liwei, all she knew about assassins and secret agents came from Jin Yu and other men in the underworld. To put it bluntly, guys like Jin Yu would often pretend to be knowledgeable and boast in front of girls like Tong Liwei. This also caused Tong Liwei's understanding of assassins and secret agents to be limited. After all, the internet was not widely available in this era. Other than schools, newspapers, magazines, people's sources of knowledge were just hearsay. It was obvious that Tong Liwei did not know the horrors of assassins and secret agents, so she was shocked but not too shocked. She was an ignorant person after all. Once she was sure that Yun Jian was not slaying God or the boss of Kosha mercenaries, Tong Liwei began to plan her own scheme again. After what happened just now, Brother Tainyo dared not withhold the money he had lost to Yun Jian. Taking the bank card from Qing Yu with trembling hands, Brother Tainyo ordered someone to transfer the money he had lost to Yun Jian into Qing Yu's card. 10 minutes later, the lackey he had sent to transfer the money to Qing Yu's card came running back to return the card to her. Haha, thanks. Qing Yu took the card and made a circle with her thumb and index finger, flicking the card softly. There was meat to be gained by following Sister Jian, that was true. Seeing that Yun Jian and Qing Yu were leaving, Brother Tainyo hurried over to wave at Yun Jian. Are you leaving? Please, please. Please, please. He looked like he was afraid that Yun Jian would not leave again. Yun Jian was about to leave, but after hearing Brother Tainyo's words, she narrowed her eyes and turned around again. Brother Iron Bull shook his fat body violently. He was so scared that he couldn't turn around quickly. Oh my God! Could it be that she didn't want to leave? Just when Brother Tainyo was about to speak, Yun Jian's voice suddenly rang out, scaring Brother Tainyo so much that he almost jumped up. What's your name? Ask for his name? Brother Tinyu secretly wiped away his cold sweat. He looked at Yun Jian and answered honestly, "My name is Lin Tinyu." Lin Tinyu was originally an honest country bumpkin. Later on, he relied on his own strength to climb to his current position. He could be considered quite impressive. However, no one could figure out why Yun Jian was asking for Brother Tinyo's name. Could it be that she has taken a fancy to that Brother Tinyo? "Do you want to ride on my coattails?" Tong Liwei thought in her heart and said it out softly. At that moment, Tong Liwei was standing beside Liang Xiumin. She seemed to be talking to herself, but also seemed to be talking to Liang Xiumin. "What are you talking about?" Liang Xiumin wasn't particularly close to Tong Liwei. After hearing Tong Liwei's words, Liang Xiumin frowned and asked, "No, nothing." Tong Liwei realized that she had said what was on her mind. She quickly shook her head and waved her hands. On the other side, Yun Jian's lips had already curved into a red arc. She glanced at Brother Tinyo in front of everyone and said, "Wenzhou City's Qinglong gang?" After hearing Yun Jian's words, one of Brother Tinyo's subordinates looked at Yun Jian in shock and exclaimed, How did you know that our casino belongs to the Qinglong gang?" The casino's backer was the Qinglong gang of Wenzhou City. "I know all the gangs in Zhe province." Yun Jian's lips curved into a red arc as she pursed her red lips. Because she was the boss of the #1 gang in Zhe province. The current Falcon Hall was equivalent to the leader of all the gangs in Zhe province. Seeing this from afar, Tong Liwei rolled her eyes and thought to herself, trying to be mysterious again. On the other hand, Jin Yu thought that Yun Jian was pretending to know when she didn't. Brother Tinyo blinked. Just as he was about to speak, Yun Jian's words rang out in front of everyone. "I'll recommend the Qinglong gang's boss to put you in an important position. After all, there aren't many people with guts like you." After Yun Jian finished her words, she waved at Qing Yu and the two of them walked out. Tong Liwei, Jin Yu, and the rest were still pondering over the meaning of Yun Jian's words when Brother Tinyo's eyes widened suddenly. Other than the former boss of Falcon Hall, Su Zetian, there was only one other woman who could recommend someone to the Qinglong gang's boss. And that woman was none other than Falcon Hall's boss. Looking in the direction that Yun Jian left, Brother Tinyo exclaimed in shock. She is a. Chapter 1997. Brother Tinyo exclaimed again. Tong Liwei, Jin Yu, and the others' hearts that had just calmed down were lifted again. Who was she? Who was she? Just because of Yun Jian's nonsensical words just now, she had to prove who she was again? But at this moment, before elder brother Tinyo could say anything, he reached out his hand and covered his mouth before he could cry out in surprise. Who was she? He could not say it. Brother Iron Bull was courageous and insightful, so he naturally understood this. Brother Tinyo had already guessed Yun Jian's identity, but he was not going to say it now. Brother Tinyo, who is she? One of Brother Tinyo's men beside him asked. Brother Tinyo removed his hand from his mouth quickly and waved calmly. It's nothing. Go back to your work. She was Falcon Hall's boss. Only Falcon Hall's boss was a woman and qualified to recommend someone to Qinglong Sect's boss. Oh God, he had just bumped into the boss of Zhe Province's top mafia group, Falcon Hall. One had to know how powerful Falcon Hall was now. It was only a matter of time before they became the top mafia group in Country Z. Moreover, Luo Sha had not led Falcon Hall on an operation for 2 years and he had actually bumped into her this time. Brother Tinyo was indescribably excited and proud to be recognized by Yun Jian. By then, Yun Jian had already left the casino. Sister Jian, you're still as amazing as before. Qing Yu praised Yun Jian sincerely when she and Yun Jian got to the elevator. Yun Jian hummed in response and said, Emin, go back to the hotel room first. I'll go downstairs to buy something. Okay. Qing Yu nodded at Yun Jian with her bank card in hand. Tong Liwei, who had followed them out of the casino, happened to hear Yun Jian's words. Let's go downstairs to buy some fruits too. It'll quench our thirst. Tong Liwei told Jin Yu and the others after hearing what Yun Jian said. In fact, Tong Liwei wanted to follow them secretly to see what Yun Jian was going to buy. Moving Qing Yu away. Was she trying to do something bad? Yun Jian didn't care about Tong Liwei and the others. She turned around and went downstairs. She went straight to the pharmacy near the Oasis Hotel. Tong Liwei also followed Jean Yu and the others into the fruit shop in the opposite direction of the pharmacy. Jean Yu and the others were buying fruits at the fruit store. Tong Liwei made an excuse to go out and happened to see Yun Jian walking into the pharmacy. She narrowed her eyes and sneaked to the entrance of the pharmacy. Looking inside, Tong Liwei saw Yun Jian standing in front of the gynecological medicine. Tong Liwei wondered if Yun Jian had some gynecological disease. Then, she didn't want anyone to know that she had a gynecological disease, so she secretly came to buy medicine alone? Tong Liwei rolled her eyes. She seemed to have caught Yun Jian's weakness and ran to the Oasis Hotel at the speed of a rocket. She finally caught Yun Jian's weakness. Humph. She immediately called Yun Jian's boyfriend over to take a look and let him know what kind of person Yun Jian was. At the same time, Yun Jian was standing in front of the gynecological medicine in the pharmacy. She did not know that she was standing at the wrong counter. "Hello, may I know what you need?" The female doctor in the pharmacy asked Yun Jian very politely. Contraceptive. Yun Jian had just uttered these two words. The female doctor had already understood what Yun Jian wanted. The hotel was right next door and there were many men and women who had lost control of their bowels. There were also many people who came to buy the morning after pill. "This is what you want." The female doctor quickly passed it to Yun Jian. Yun Jian nodded and asked for a cup of hot water from the female doctor. She put the medicine in her palm and was about to put it into her mouth. However, just as Yun Jian was about to put the medicine into her mouth, a slender palm grabbed her wrist. Yun Jian was shocked. Before she could react, the owner of the palm had already smashed all the medicine in Yun Jian's hand onto the ground and crushed them. The medicine and the box were smashed to pieces in front of the female doctor. Yun Jian was shocked. She raised her head and clearly saw Siyi's handsome and flawless face. His eyebrows were tightly knitted. Chapter 1998. Siyi's brows were so tightly furrowed that they could squeeze a fly to death. Yun Jian didn't need to think to know that he was very angry at this moment. Yun Jian opened her mouth. She's taking gynecological medicine. She must have contracted some strange disease. Is it some kind of female disease, uterine disease, or some kind of disease that prevents her from having children? I think it must be some kind of shameful disease. After she told Ce about Yun Jian at the pharmacy, Ce kicked the stool away and ran here. Tong Liwei, who had been ignored by Ce, finally chased after him. Tong Liwei was out of breath as she chased after him, but when she saw Ce grabbing Yun Jian's hand and looking flustered and exasperated, Tong Liwei couldn't help but add insult to injury. After saying this, Tong Liwei stood to the side with a solemn expression on her face. She felt that Ce would definitely act like a teenage boy. After discovering that his girlfriend had secretly done something behind his back, he would act as though she had betrayed him. He would act as though he had been betrayed by some kind of super unparalleled emotional betrayal and insist on breaking up with her. Tong Liwei was already smiling. She felt that Yun Jian was definitely done for and that she should be the next in line. Abruptly, Ce, who had crushed the medicine box with his feet, extended his hand in front of the female doctor and Tong Liwei. Ce didn't reach out to hit Yun Jian as Tong Liwei had thought. In fact, that was impossible. Even if Ce shot her to death, he wouldn't bear to touch a single hair on Yun Jian's head. Ce reached out and pulled Yun Jian into his embrace in front of the female doctor and Tong Liwei. "Why are you taking birth control pills? This thing is harmful to your health. Don't touch it again," Ce said as she grabbed Yun Jian's hand and walked out. When Yun Jian heard this, she blinked. She had thought that he had said that if she was really pregnant, she would give birth to the child. Now that he saw her taking birth control pills, he would definitely say something about her. However, Ce did not blame Yun Jian for such a small matter. On the contrary, he was angry because Yun Jian wanted to take birth control pills, which were harmful to her health. What if his Xiao Jian had side effects after eating it? Ce was different from other men. Some men saw that their women were not allowed to take birth control pills after they had told them not to. They even secretly took them behind their backs. Now, they were probably going to beat them up. This strange woman kept it from them. But what if Ce hit Yun Jian? Unless the sun exploded. The sky was falling. Ce grabbed Yun Jian's hand and walked out of the pharmacy under Tong Liwei's shocked gaze. Just as they exited the pharmacy, Ce turned to look at Tong Liwei. Tong Liwei blushed from Ce's stare and lowered her head shyly, thinking that Ce would praise her. Who knew that Ce would look at her coldly? "Don't let me see you again or I'll cut off your arms and legs and make you wish you were dead." Ce's words were terrifyingly cold, like winter ice that froze one's heart and made them shiver. At this moment, Tong Liwei even felt that Ce's gentle words to Yun Jian were unreal. This man was simply inhuman. Tong Liwei shuddered in fear. Ce pulled Yun Jian away carefully without looking back after that. No matter when, who would dare to criticize his Xiao Jian? Go to hell then. If it were not for the Mid-Autumn Festival being such a beautiful vacation time, Ce would have sent Tong Liwei straight to hell. When Ce pulled Yun Jian away from the pharmacy, Tong Liwei sat on the floor like she was paralyzed. Chapter 1999. Ce pulled Yun Jian back to the hotel. He did not reprimand Yun Jian but told Yun Jian sternly, "Xiao Jian, you're not allowed to joke around with your body anymore. You're not allowed to eat anything that's harmful to your health." Ce knew that Yun Jian did not want to get pregnant not because she did not want to bear his child, but because the mysterious man was still alive. She was afraid that if she got pregnant, not only would she not be able to help him, she would become a burden instead. After all, Yun Jian was very strong in combat, but if she got pregnant, there would be a lump of meat in her stomach that could easily fall off at any time. Yun Jian nodded and pressed her lips together. However, his heart was filled with joy. She really wanted to get rid of the mysterious man as soon as possible so that she could bear him a chubby child right away. "Cough. I'll take care of the precautions from now on," Ce said teasingly as he hugged Yun Jian. Yun Jian blushed again at Ce's words. For the next few days, Tong Liwei did not appear in front of Ce and Yun Jian. It was said that she had gone back because she was not feeling well. The next morning, the group went to Zhoushan Island. Zhoushan Island was indeed the largest archipelago in Country Z. Its scale was incomparable to an ordinary island. The group had fun for 2 days before leaving. Nothing else happened in between. Of course, Ce did not know how to restrain himself when he pulled Yun Jian to do embarrassing things. Nevertheless, he had taken sufficient precautions. Once the Mid-Autumn Festival was over, Yun Jian went back to school while Ce returned to an Hun group. Those who were supposed to go to school went to work. Everything had returned to normal. It was worth mentioning that old Liang heard that Yun Jian was studying at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China in Jiangqing City before he came back. He was surprised to tell Yun Jian that his daughter, Liang Xuemin, was also studying in Jiangqing City's university town. There were more than 10 universities in Jiangqing City's university town, and it was the largest university town in Zhe province. Therefore, it was not strange that rich people would send their daughters and sons to Jiangqing City's university town to study. Therefore, when Yun Jian took the bus back to school, in order to train his daughter, Liang Xuemin, to be independent, old Liang insisted that Liang Xuemin, who had always been sent to school by private car, take the bus to Jiangqing City with Yun Jian. Liang Xuemin scolded her father for a while, but she behaved herself in the car. Sometimes, she chatted with Yun Jian, but she didn't talk much. After getting out of the car, Liang Xuemin and Yun Jian separated. Although both universities were in the university town of Rivertown, the universities were different after all. Hence, the two of them had different destinations. Liang Xuemin's face was originally drooping as she unwillingly walked in the opposite direction. After taking 2 steps, she suddenly turned around and looked at Yun Jian. She opened her mouth and said what she wanted to say. "I'm studying dance at Jiangqing Media University. You can look for me." After saying that, Liang Xuemin, who was super arrogant, blushed. She suddenly turned around and left with her suitcase. Seeing this, Yun Jian only smiled faintly. Yun Jian didn't go back to school immediately. Instead, she went to the hotel where Fox was staying. After a few days of rest, Fox's injuries had recovered a lot. Yun Jian walked into the hotel directly. "Chairman." Fox saw Yun Jian and wanted to stand up. "Just lie down. Did something happen in the company?" Yun Jian asked softly. "The CEO asked me to look for you." 3 months later, the CEO plans to hold a banquet for the CEOs of global multinational companies to get to know each other. The leaders of many assassin organizations will also be invited. Reverse Emperor might also send people over. The CEO heard that you are back, but he couldn't contact you. So, he asked me to ask if you want to attend the banquet. Fox said. It was on his way to look for Yun Jian that Fox was suddenly attacked by Reverse Emperor's men. Yun Jian, who wasn't interested in the banquet, changed her mind when she heard that Reverse Emperor might send people over. She replied simply, "I'll go." Chapter 2000. After listening to Yun Jian, Fox nodded and asked Yun Jian, "The CEO hasn't decided on the exact location and time for the party. I'll come back to tell you 3 months later." Yun Jian answered and told Fox, "Rest here for 2 days before you go back." Fox nodded at Yun Jian. She was exhausted from being hunted down by Reverse Emperor's assassins the last time. The assassin who was sent to kill Fox had obviously gone through formal training. If it were not for Fox's ability, she would not have survived after being hunted for hours. Otherwise, she would have been dead long before Yun Jian came to save her. "Thank you, Sister Jian." Fox thanked Yun Jian. With a raised brow, Yun Jian pressed her lips together and said, "Rest well." Then, Yun Jian turned to leave the hotel where Fox was staying. As soon as they walked out of the hotel where the Fox was staying, the passers-by on the street saw a young girl who had just walked out of the hotel's door and stopped in her tracks. "Still not coming out?" The girl's delicate face turned to the side as she uttered nonchalantly. Was the girl out of her mind? Who was she asking to come out? Was she living in her own fantasy world? The passerby cast a sidelong glance at the girl, as if he was looking at a lunatic. Just as he was about to slowly walk away, he suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure in his 40s. He didn't look old, but his behavior was similar to that of an old urchin. He staggered out from behind a tree. Holy *T. There was really someone. The passers-by saw the figure coming out from behind a big tree. The person who had been strolling leisurely on the road was now sprinting and disappearing on the spot. Yun Jian frowned slightly when she saw Matthew, who had popped out from behind the big tree. "Didn't you go back to the company?" Matthew had already dealt with the assassins from Reverse Emperor, and he was carrying his laptop back to the Rongyao company with a new defense system installed by Yun Jian. "Boss, I've already installed the system that you gave me. But I saw that someone was trying to assassinate Little Fox, and I was afraid that those people would come back again. So, boss, I really didn't skip work on purpose. You can't fire me. I'll go back now. Matthew was about to leave, as if he was afraid of being fired by Yun Jian. "Remember to bring Fox back to the company safely," Yun Jian called out to him before he left and told him softly. After saying that, Yun Jian put one of her fair and delicate hands into her trouser pocket and pulled her suitcase lightly with the other hand. She walked back in the direction of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. After Yun Jian returned to the university, everything seemed to return to normal. The next morning, at 4:50 a.m., Yun Jian changed into a clean set of sportswear and tied up her long black hair with a simple leather band. She had a high ponytail and a pair of white flats on her feet. No matter how you looked at her, you would never get tired of looking at her. Yun Jian woke up to run in the morning. "Yun Jian, wait. I'm just putting on my shoes. I'll be quick. Wait for me." Zhu Huili saw that Yun Jian was already dressed and was about to go out. She put on her shoes and ran out with Yun Jian. Yun Jian waited for a while, and Zhu Huili caught up with her. Early in the morning, in the field of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, Yun Jian and Zhu Huili were the only ones who woke up so early for a morning jog. It was only after 5:30 a.m. that the number of youngsters who woke up early for a morning jog increased. There were only a handful of youngsters who woke up early for their health. Yun Jian, Zhu Huili. What a coincidence. We meet again. Let's run together. Yun Jian met the former president of the martial arts club, Mo Bufan, who got up early to run in the morning before the Mid-Autumn Festival. Mo Bufan had now given the position of the president of the martial arts club to Yun Jian. Yun Jian made him the vice president of the martial arts club. At that time, Mo Bufan was Yun Jian's right-hand man. Mo Bufan paid attention to martial arts and would run in the field every morning. However, in the past, Mo Bufan was alone. Today, Mo Bufan was accompanied by 2 boys. Yun Jian didn't care. She nodded to Mo Bufan and took the lead to run to the field. Zhu Huili couldn't run fast, so she ran slowly by herself. She wasn't in a hurry. Mo Bufan and the 2 boys who followed Mo Bufan to run in the morning were able to catch up with Yun Jian, who wasn't running fast to begin with. She was doing her morning exercise at an average speed. These 2 boys were very handsome. It was obvious that they were Mo Bufan's buddies and weren't members of the martial arts club. Mo Bufan had 3 buddies. Other than brother Kai, there were only these 2 handsome boys. One of the 2 boys saw that Yun Jian didn't speak from the beginning. When Mo Bufan greeted her, she only nodded slightly. He was a little curious. Yun Jian was running at the front. She could hear one of Mo Bufan's buddies ask Mo Bufan, "Fan, is this chick the new president of your martial arts club?" A. Chapter 2001. N. Mo Bufan exhaled every 3 steps and inhaled every 3 steps. He was using the most standard running breathing method to catch his breath. Hearing his brother's question, Mo Bufan responded with a sentence from his throat as an answer. Mo Bufan was prepared to run a long distance like Yun Jian. Mo Bufan's 2 brothers obviously didn't plan to keep running. They were in the state of resting after running a few laps. After the boy who spoke heard Mo Bufan's words, he paused for a while and asked again, "Fan, your martial arts club's new president is quite cold, right? But she's really pretty. I wonder if she has a boyfriend now?" Boys were generally thick-skinned. Mo Bufan's brother asked this question in front of Yun Jian, who was still running in front. "Su Zhenglong, since you're my brother, I didn't bring you here for a morning run to introduce you to flirt with girls. Our president is different from other girls, and even more different from the girls you know. If you still treat me as a brother, don't put your thoughts on our president like how you deal with those little girls." When Mo Bufan heard his brother's words, he knew that his brother's thoughts were on Yun Jian. He wasn't afraid of exposing himself and spoke bluntly to his brother. Su Zhenglong was Mo Bufan's brother's name. As for the equally handsome but silent boy standing next to Su Zhenglong, he was Mo Bufan's other brother. His name was Wei Jingxian. Mo Bufan had 3 brothers, brother Kai, Su Zhenglong, and Wei Jingxian. The 4 of them were friends who had played together since they were young. Because the 4 of them were from wealthy families, their families were rich. Among them, brother Kai, who was the richest, was not outstanding in appearance. As for Mo Bufan, Su Zhenglong, and Wei Jingxian, they were all good-looking and studied in the same university. However, the 4 of them had different interests and majors. Su Zhenglong liked beautiful girls and played with them. Wei Jingxian was more silent. Mo Bufan adhered to his family's martial arts and liked martial arts, taekwondo, and other things that could improve his strength. At the same time, Su Zhenglong and Wei Jingxian were the school hunks of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. Of course, Mo Bufan was not bad either. In fact, the girls liked Mo Bufan more than Su Zhenglong and Wei Jingxian. However, Mo Bufan was a low-profile person and did not like to get involved in this kind of school hunk and school belle election. Hence, Mo Bufan was considered the default campus hunk of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. All right. Your brother is not loyal at all." After Su Zhenglong heard Mo Bufan's words, he rolled his eyes and took another look at Yun Jian's beautiful figure. What's so different about women? Su Zhenglong didn't believe that Yun Jian was different from other girls, but he didn't say it out loud. As expected, Su Zhenglong stopped running after 2 or 3 laps with his hands on his waist. Wei Jingxian ran 5 laps and stopped running. For boys like Su Zhenglong and Wei Jingxian who didn't train themselves often, running for a while was already good enough. Then, the 2 of them watched as Mo Bufan and Yun Jian ran away. Zhu Huili didn't run much either. After she finished her 5 laps, she drank some water and sat on the steps to wait for Yun Jian. For the past few days, she was the one who finished her run and sat on the steps to wait. At first, Su Zhenglong was still thinking about what Mo Bufan said about Yun Jian being different from other girls. It wasn't until Mo Bufan finished running and Yun Jian was still running that Su Zhenglong started to pay attention to Yun Jian. 45, 46, 47, 50. F***CK. Are you kidding me? She ran 50 laps. 50 laps. A girl actually ran 50 laps so early in the morning. She can't be from the military, right? So fierce. When Yunjian stopped and returned to her original spot, Su Zhenglong's eyes were already wide open. He was so scared that his soul almost left his body. 50 laps. The big field here was a 400-meter lap, and Yunjian ran 20 kilometers. This distance was about the same as the morning exercise of the special forces in the military, right? And the time spent was only slightly more than an hour. This girl was too different from other girls. Su Zhenglong was already dumbfounded, and Wei Jingxian was also stunned. Chapter 2002. A normal person would be paralyzed on the ground after jogging for 3 kilometers. After Yunjian finished running, she took the bottle of water from Zhu Huili, opened the cap, and drank the water in the bottle. After drinking, Yunjian didn't gasp for breath. Her chest only moved slightly, and she didn't look like she was going to fall to the ground. Both Su Zhenglong and Wei Jingxian were completely dumbfounded. At this moment, after hearing Su Zhenglong say that Yunjian wasn't from the military, Zhu Huili, who handed the water to Yunjian, turned his head and glanced at Su Zhenglong. He couldn't help but say what he knew. How do you know that Yunjian is from the military? She studied in the military school when she was in high school. As he said that, Zhu Huili felt a sense of pride for Yunjian. F***CK. She's really from the military? Su Zhenglong was just talking nonsense. Now that he heard Zhu Huili's words, Su Zhenglong was stunned. Su Zhenglong was just sighing, but he never thought that Yunjian was really from the military. Let's go to the club. Yunjian took the jacket that she had just taken off from Zhu Huili and led the way to the martial arts club. Mo Bufan was also slightly stunned when he heard Zhu Huili's words. Yunjian actually studied in the military school in high school. It was no wonder that she was so unpredictable. Hey, wait, little girl. You really studied in the military school in high school? Tell me, is the military school fun? Is there any difference between the students in the military school and us who studied in ordinary high schools? I've always fantasized about going to the military school myself. Then I'll be an outstanding soldier. So great, so powerful. Wait. Quick. Tell me if your strength in the military academy is at the bottom or what? Su Zhenglong suddenly became interested. He chased after Yunjian for a long distance and asked many questions. Was he tired? After a while, Yunjian and the others arrived at the fixed place of the martial arts club. Every club in the university had its own fixed location. If a president wanted to open a club, he had to have a fixed and confirmed location where the members could maintain their interests together. Therefore, sometimes, if one wanted to set up a club without the school subsidies, it would take a lot of money to maintain a club. Mo Bufan's family was rich, and he loved martial arts. Originally, the martial arts club did not have a venue, so Mo Bufan paid for a venue that could be used to practice martial arts. There were all kinds of martial arts practice facilities inside. The venue was not within the university. Therefore, Yunjian and the others left the university and went to the martial arts club. At this time, it was already close to 7 in the morning. The university students had no classes in the morning and were generally lazy to sleep. However, Mo Bufan requested for the members of the martial arts club to gather at the martial arts club at 6:30 every day. Therefore, no matter how sleepy they were, the members of the martial arts club had already gathered at the martial arts club's training ground. Zhu Huili did not come with them. She had an early class in the morning and had already returned to her dormitory. Before she left, she greeted Yunjian. At this time, Yunjian had already taken the lead and walked into the martial arts club's venue. However, what entered her eyes was a mess on the ground. Many things had been overturned. The garbage in the trash cans had been dumped on the ground, and some benches and chairs had been overturned. At this time, the martial arts club's venue should have been filled with members of the martial arts club, but only 1 or 2 girls were still standing there. When Yunjian saw this, she frowned. What's going on? When Yunjian had just become the president of the martial arts club, the members of the martial arts club did not welcome her. Although they did not say anything, all the members had given her a dirty look. They rolled their eyes at her while hiding in the dark. At this moment, the 2 girls standing in the same place were obviously frightened by what had happened not long ago. When they saw Yunjian and Mo Bufan, it was as if they had seen a life-saving straw. They rushed towards Yun Jian and Mo Bufan in large strides. The martial arts club of Dragon City University next door is causing trouble again. When they heard that our club changed to a girl as the president, they ridiculed us with all kinds of words and said a lot of unacceptable things. Just now, Zhou Huntao quarreled with the people of Dragon City University's martial arts club. The people of Dragon City University's martial arts club began to overturn our tables and chairs. They even injured Zhou Huntao. Now, they sent him to the hospital. Chapter 2003. Rivertown was a university town. There were more than a dozen universities near Rivertown, and about 100,000 foreign students were gathered here. It could be said that this was a very large number. The martial arts club wasn't just a club that existed in Rivertown University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. The Dragon City University that the girl was talking about had a martial arts club. In order to make his club sound more famous, the club's president even named their club Green Bull Gang. This name sounded a bit like the name of a gang, but in fact, it wasn't. Green Bull Gang was different from gangs like Falcon Hall. Green Bull Gang was just a martial arts club in a regular university. However, with the name of Green Bull Gang, the members of Dragon City University's martial arts club felt that it was very impressive. Green Bull Gang and Mo Bufan's martial arts club had been mortal enemies since last year and the year before. To put it bluntly, it was either you die or I die. Green Bull Gang had been quiet for 2 days, but they didn't expect that in just a few days, the president of Green Bull Gang heard that Mo Bufan's martial arts club had a new president and couldn't sit still anymore. Coincidentally, Mo Bufan and Yun Jian weren't in the martial arts club. Zhou Huntao's personality was quite fierce, so he had a conflict with Green Bull Gang and was sent to the hospital. Outside the hospital's emergency room, Zhou Huntao's head was injured and he had a slight concussion. He had been sent to the ward and needed to be hospitalized for recuperation. *CK those bastards from Green Bull Gang. They really think they're green bulls. I can't take it anymore. I must take revenge for Huntaro. Some boys were so angry that they wanted to rush to Green Bull Gang's territory alone. Wait! Yun Jian, who was standing in front of the martial arts club members, stopped the boy. At this moment, the members of the martial arts society were all angry. They were even prepared to fight to the death with the Green Bull Gang. After hearing Yun Jian's words, the boy frowned and said bluntly to Yun Jian, I didn't agree with you being the president. Now that Huntao is like this, don't you want me to take revenge on Green Bull Gang? A woman like you is really not suitable to be a member of our martial arts club. Before the boy could finish, Yun Jian asked coldly, where is the Green Ox Gang? By the time the boy came back to his senses, the members of the martial arts club had already followed Yun Jian to the territory of the Green Bull Gang. It's here. *Kerr, the Green Ox Gang must be hiding somewhere. I'll go knock on the door. Of course, the boy was angry. Just as he was about to angrily walk over and knock on the locked door of the Green Ox Gang, Yun Jian strode forward and stretched out her long legs in front of the door. With one kick, the locked iron door was kicked away in front of everyone. I'll go. Seeing Yun Jian kick the locked iron door away, Mo Bufan's brothers Su Zhanglong and Wei Jingxian, and the members of the martial arts club all gasped in shock. Inside the door, the members of the Green Ox Gang, who had heard the president of the Green Ox Gang say that as long as they didn't open the door, the members of the martial arts club of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China would not be able to enter, were suddenly shocked by the sound of Yun Jian kicking the iron door away. When they turned around, they saw a pair of white flats in front of everyone. What they saw was an 18-year-old girl who was 165 meters tall and so beautiful that she could make people forget to breathe. However, just as the members of the Green Ox Gang were shocked, they saw the girl kick the iron door open in front of Mo Bufan, Su Zhanglong, Wei Jingxian, and all the members of the martial arts club, including the Green Ox Gang. They saw her kick the iron door that had been uprooted and kicked to the ground. She kicked the iron door more than 10 meters away and hit the head of a boy from the Green Ox Gang. This boy was the president of the Green Ox Gang, Wu Ran, who had sent Zhou Huntao to the hospital. Wu Ran was hit hard by the iron door and couldn't get up for a long time. President! President! The members of the Green Ox Gang shouted in horror when they saw their president being hit by the iron door. Yun Jian originally guessed that this boy was most likely the president of the Green Ox Gang. Now that she heard the way the members of the Green Ox Gang addressed the boy, she was immediately sure. She calmly took 2 steps toward Wu Ren. Then, in front of all the members of the 2 martial arts clubs, she curled her lips into a red arc that made people unconsciously afraid. She curled her lips and sneered at Wu Ren. The president of the Green Ox Gang, right? I don't care how the president of our martial arts club dealt with this kind of thing before, but today, the president of the martial arts club is me. Prepare to receive the baptism of death. A. Chapter 2004. Prepare to accept the baptism of death. Yun Jian's last sentence resounded in every corner of the venue, causing everyone's hearts to tighten. Everyone present was a university student. Although the members of the Green Bull Gang did not study in the same school as Yun Jian, they were all around the same age. They were in their teens to early 20s, the age of youth, full of vigor and hot-blooded vigor. Students of this age were generally impulsive, which led to Wu Ren accidentally injuring Zhou Huntao and sending him to the hospital. Of course, Wu Ren regretted it after hitting him. He did not want to hurt anyone. The incident happened so suddenly that Wu Ren saw Zhou Huntao being sent to the hospital. Because he was afraid that something serious would happen, Wu Ren did not follow him to the hospital. Instead, he returned to his own Green Bull Gang club. Wu Ren had even thought of the confession that the school teachers or the police would investigate after Zhou Huntao's accident. When he heard the voices of the people from the Mo Bufan Martial Arts Club coming from outside, Wu Ren immediately told the members of the Green Bull Gang not to open the door. That way, the people from the Mo Bufan Martial Arts Club would not be able to enter. After all, Wu Ren was the one who started the trouble first and sent him to the hospital. He was very guilty. However, Wu Ren and the members of the Green Bull Gang thought that the people from the Mo Bufan Martial Arts Club would leave if they could not open the locked iron door. An 18-year-old girl in the prime of her youth had actually kicked open the iron door in front of everyone. How much strength did she need to be able to do this? That was an iron door. She actually kicked the iron door away. What was even more terrifying was that after the girl entered, she kicked the iron door that had been uprooted and kicked to the ground. She kicked the iron door dozens of meters away, ruthlessly but accurately landing on Wu Ren's head. This hit made Wu Ren unable to regain his senses for a long time. The young girl then spat out the words that shocked everyone present. The meaning of the girl's words was, she was the legendary new female president of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, who replaced the genius martial arts youth, Mo Bufan. There were so many universities around the university town, and there were more than 1 or 2 martial arts clubs. However, this was the first time that a girl was the president of a martial arts club. Therefore, when they found out that Yun Jian was the new president of the Zhongqing University of Electronic Science and Technology of China Martial Arts Society, the members of the Green Bull Gang were in disbelief. Wu Ren was hit in the head by the iron door that Yun Jian had kicked over. Although he didn't bleed, his head was still shaken. When Wu Ren came to his senses, he slammed the iron door open with his palm and stood up while holding his head. His anger had reached its peak. How dare you hit me with a metal door? You, a girl, actually dared to smash me with an iron door. How dare you speak to me in such a tone? Don't you know that your martial arts club has always been defeated by my Green Bull Gang? Moreover, the martial arts club is the territory of the boys. You're a girl. I don't know what means you used to become the president of the martial arts club. She couldn't have committed adultery with Mo Bufan, right? Oh, or are you using the methods that you girls are used to using your body to gain benefits? Or did you sleep with a school leader from the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China and force him to give you the position of club president? TSK, did you forget that I sent Zhou Huntao to the hospital? How dare you come here to court death? Do you want me to send you all to the hospital one by one? The martial arts club that Mo Bufan had led in the past had never been a match for Wu Ren's Green Bull Gang in the past. This was an indisputable fact. At the same time, the members of Mo Bufan's martial arts club hated hearing such words the most. Not long ago, Wu Ren had used these extremely vicious words to force Zhou Huntao to fight with Wu Ren. In the end, Zhou Huntao was injured. Wu Ren, you're courting death. A boy standing next to Mo Bufan heard Wu Ren's words and clenched his fists in anger. He was about to rush towards Wu Ren. However, the boy didn't have time to rush towards Wu Ren. He saw an afterimage that was faster and more agile than the boy. At a speed that couldn't be seen by the naked eye, she had already arrived in front of Wu Ren. Wu Ren was still mocking Yun Jian, but in the next second, his expression changed. Yun Jian, who was more than 10 meters away from him, was already right in front of him. Wu Ren was shocked. He reached out his hand and wanted to fight back. However, Yun Jian suddenly grabbed the air and a butterfly knife appeared in her hand. Then, a dazzling knife light flashed past. Everyone saw that after Yun Jian cut Wu Ren a few times with the butterfly knife, Wu Ren reached out to snatch the butterfly knife from her hand. Yun Jian was as calm as ever. She dodged to the left in front of everyone. At the same time, she kicked Wu Ren's back to the ground. Then, she kicked Wu Ren like a rubber ball and sent him flying in front of the Green Bull gang members. Yun Jian only used 5 seconds to do this series of actions. At that moment, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded happened. Wu Ren, who was kicked in front of the Green Bull gang members, had his clothes pieced together like rags. At the same time, they were torn apart. Other than his underwear, the rest of Wu Ren's clothes were torn apart like a rag. Her few slashes just now. That seemingly weak saber technique had directly cut through Wu Ren's clothes. That knife was as fast as numbness. If she had used a little more strength, it wouldn't have been Wu Ren's clothes that were torn apart. The people present didn't dare to think about it anymore. At that time, everyone, including the Green Bull gang members, Mo Bufan, and Mo Bufan's brothers, Su Zhenglong and Wei Jingxian, were all in a daze. However, at that moment, Yun Jian put away her knife. In the next second, they heard her cold voice again. Unlike before, Yun Jian's voice made people tremble in fear for no reason. She said to everyone in the Green Bull gang, "In the past, the martial arts club lost to you because they were useless. I have nothing to say. Now that the martial arts club is in my hands, let me tell you, no matter how powerful the Green Bull gang was in the past, I, Yun Jian, can send you to hell." A. Chapter 2005. No matter how powerful the Green Bull gang was, as long as the Martial Arts Club of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China had Yun Jian, the Green Bull gang would only be an insignificant stumbling block. Yun Jian's words resounded throughout the entire venue. When the members of the Green Bull gang heard this, their hearts twitched fiercely. When Mo Bufan and the other members of the Martial Arts Club heard this, they felt a sense of pride that came from nowhere. It had to be said that when Mo Bufan overshadowed Zhang Zhan and transferred the Martial Arts Club to Yun Jian, the members of the Martial Arts Club were very dissatisfied. She was a woman. Could she really lead the Martial Arts Club? Everyone in the club was very against it. Even Zhou Huntao, who had seen Yun Jian's skills and asked Mo Bufan to invite Yun Jian to join their martial arts club, was a little doubtful and worried. But at this moment, after hearing Yun Jian's words and Yun Jian's way of venting her anger, what she did just now was even more ruthless than directly sending Wu Ren to the hospital. One had to know that boys in their youth were very prideful. Sure enough, Wu Ren's clothes were torn apart. Other than his underwear, there was nothing else to cover his body. He shouted twice and rushed over to hug the metal door, using it to cover his body. "Don't look. Don't F*King look." Wu Ren didn't care about the pain in his body and shouted twice. At that time, Wu Ren's legs were bent inwards, and he stood like a shy woman. Compared to the arrogant and despotic Wu Ren in the past, it was like heaven and earth. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Wu Ren, did you King hear that? Our president said that no matter how powerful your Green Bull gang was in the past, if you dare to show off in front of us again, we'll send your Green Bull gang to hell. The boy who had impulsively told Yun Jian that a woman like her wasn't suitable to be the president of their martial arts club at the hospital's emergency room earlier held his stomach and laughed loudly at Wu Ren. "That's right. Wu Ren, weren't you very cocky in the past? The next time you see us, take your Green Bull gang and scram. If we don't teach you a lesson, you'll really think you're a cow? How awesome do you think you are? President good. Long live the president. Good president. Long live the president." The members of the martial arts club, who were not optimistic about Yun Jian, began to exclaim. Imperceptibly, everyone had tacitly acknowledged Yun Jian's identity as the president of the martial arts club. Wu Ren didn't want to admit it, but he had no choice but to admit that he couldn't even take a single blow from Yun Jian. This girl. It was too terrifying. He was no match for him at all. Even if there were 10 of him added together, he might not be able to contend against it. At the thought of this, Wu Ren's face turned pale with fright. Where did Mo Bufan find such a girl? This was 2F * King Scary. Wu Ren's cowardly look was enough to make everyone laugh at him for a while. Zhou Huntao only had a slight concussion, which wasn't very serious. He only needed to rest for 2 days and didn't need any special treatment. Therefore, the members of the martial arts club did not continue their crusade against Wu Ren. They only unanimously decided to inform the school and let Wu Ren's university punish him. Wu Ren couldn't even protect himself, so no one from the Green Bull Gang dared to say another word. The Green Bull Gang, who used to be incomparably arrogant, was now as quiet as a herd of sheep waiting to be slaughtered. At this time, Yun Jian had already walked out of the door. Actually, Yun Jian didn't come today to avenge Zhou Huntao. In Yun Jian's words, Zhou Huntao wasn't as good as Wu Ren, so he deserved to be beaten up and sent to the hospital. This was a world that relied on strength to survive. If you were bullied because you were weak and waited for others to avenge you, then you deserved to be bullied. Yun Jian's main purpose for coming here was to make an oath. Since the martial arts club was taken over by Yun Jian, then no one should think of touching the martial arts club because the martial arts club's backer was her. Just as the members of the martial arts club were feeling proud of Yun Jian's strength, Yun Jian, who was about to leave the Green Bull Gang, suddenly stopped and turned around in front of everyone. When the Green Bull Gang saw this, they thought that Yun Jian was going to make a move on them again. They were so scared that they almost found a corner to hide in. The members of the martial arts club were a little proud. Even Su Zhanglong and Wei Jingxian, who weren't members of the martial arts club, were infected by the atmosphere and felt a little proud. At this time, Yun Jian cast a sidelong glance at all the members of the martial arts club in front of everyone. She said with a cold face, not allowing anyone to refute her. Tomorrow at 4:50 a.m., gather at the school field. From tomorrow onwards, everyone will receive training. I'll make it clear in advance that there are no useless people in the martial arts club. If you can't take it, then leave now. A. Chapter 2006. Yun Jian was very ruthless. She was ruthless to herself and to others. She would be ruthless when she should be ruthless and cripple when she should be crippled. She would not stay for a second longer than necessary. It was even more impossible for her to persuade those who wanted to leave to stay. Those who were willing would stay and those who were unwilling would leave on their own. This was Yun Jian's principle. Yun Jian hated people who quit midway the most. If you wanted to do something, you had to do it from the beginning to the end. If you chose to leave midway, she would rather that the other party had never chosen to persist. The overall strength of the Wushu Club was too weak and there were only a few powerful members. Therefore, when Wu Ran and the others bullied Zhou Huntao, he would only end up in the hospital. Since the Wushu Club was now in her hands, she would never allow such a thing to happen. Therefore, Yun Jian planned to train the members of the Wushu Club. Of course, Yun Jian had already made it very clear that those who could not accept it would leave immediately. Do not cower midway. Those who cowered midway were more disgusting to Yun Jian than those who quit from the beginning. When Mo Bufan heard Yun Jian's words, he knew that Yun Jian was going to help him improve the strength of the Wushu Club. Mo Bufan was delighted. Before the members of the Wushu Club could react, he shouted in front of everyone, "We pledge our lives to follow the new president." When Mo Bufan shouted, the members of the Wushu Club immediately reacted. "We pledge our lives to follow the new president. We pledge our lives to follow the new president." At this moment, the members of the Wushu Club shouted together with Mo Bufan. For a moment, the shouts resounded through the entire venue. After witnessing Yun Jian's skills and seeing the arrogant and despotic Wu Ran cowering like a turtle, everyone present had a moment of desire. They also wanted to become stronger. None of the members of the Wushu Club retreated. Even the girls who joined the Wushu Club initially to get close to Mo Bufan now wanted to become stronger like Yun Jian. Of course, the person standing here at this moment was not the senior who had a grudge with Yun Jian at the entrance of the cafeteria, Kai Huiling. Kai Huiling had lost all her face. She had been on leave for a few days and hadn't come to school. Now, all the members of the martial arts club regarded Yun Jian as their role model. Seeing this, Yun Jian curled her lips slightly. She showed the side of her beautiful body to the crowd, and her lips curled up again. She left behind a sentence that shocked everyone present. "See you tomorrow at 4:50 a.m. on the sports field." After saying that, Yun Jian turned sideways and left first. Even after Yun Jian left, Su Zhanglong, who was deeply attracted to Yun Jian, still looked at the place where Yun Jian disappeared in shock and sighed. Oh my god! As expected of someone who had studied in the military academy in high school. He was 2F** King Awesome. This aura! Don't be too strong. Su Zhanglong's words were full of admiration. His words shocked everyone in the martial arts society, Wu Ran, and the Green Bull Gang. What? Did she go to a military school in high school? For a girl like her to be able to enter a military school for boys, she's really amazing. No wonder he is so strong. Everyone was talking about it. However, at that time, the members of the martial arts society and the Green Bull Gang did not know one thing. Not only did Yun Jian study in a military school, she was also the top student in Min City's military school. Team Monarch, Slashing God herself. Zhu Huili's morning class was also considered a morning class for the club, so she left early. Zhu Huili liked to draw, so she joined the art club before Yun Jian joined the martial arts society. Yun Jian and Zhu Huili were in the same class, so they did not have any classes in the morning. There was a Chinese class in the afternoon. There were very few classes in the university. There were at most 2 classes a day, and the weekend was a break. A class was about 2 hours long, so they just had to get to the classroom before class started. For the Chinese class in the afternoon, some students skipped class and did not come. Yun Jian and Zhu Huili came to class on time and ended class on time. The class started at 1:30 in the afternoon and ended at 3:30. Yun Jian and Zhu Huili stood up and were about to return to their dormitory when they were stopped by their class monitor. Rather than being stopped, it was more accurate to say that the entire class was stopped by the class monitor. The class monitor in the university usually left everything to the class monitor and rarely came to the classroom. The number of times a student could see the class monitor in a semester could be counted on one hand. Students would usually look for the class monitor if they needed help. The class monitor of Yun Jian's freshman computer science class 13 was a tall and skinny boy with average looks. The boy held a statistics sheet in his hand. After calling out to the class, he announced his plan. I applied to borrow the school's gymnasium this morning. I'm planning to have a small freshman party tonight. We'll play games and get to know each other. Is that okay? A. Chapter 2007. The boy was Yun Jian and the class monitor of computer science class 13. His name was Lu Zhenlin. Lu Zhenlin was tall and thin. His looks were average, but he was not ugly. After looking at him for a long time, one would not be disgusted. The University of Electronic Science and Technology of China focused on computer science, but there were other majors to choose from. However, most of the students who came to the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China chose computer science. Therefore, the number of applicants for computer science was off the charts. Therefore, there were many computer science classes in each grade. Yun Jian happened to be in computer science class 13. Class activities in the university were managed and organized by the class monitor and the class committee. At this time, some girls in the class were eager to join in after hearing the class monitor, Lu Zhenlin. New student fellowship party? Class monitor, can we bring our friends from other classes to join in? It's so boring if it's just our class. That's right. My boyfriend is a student from the school next door. It'll be great if we can all join in the new student fellowship party. Yes. Class monitor, you can make the decision. When Lu Zhenlin heard this, he acquiesced. At 5:30 p.m., the students in our class will come over after dinner. Organize the scene. When the students heard this, they all nodded. After saying this, Lu Zhenlin dismissed everyone. The other students in the class were quite obedient, except for Yun Jian's other 2 roommates, Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan skipped classes every day and almost did not come to the classroom. University was different from junior high and high school. University teachers did not remember people. They only cared about their attendance and would leave after class. Miao Li and Shi Xiujuan would ask someone to help them announce their attendance every day. Naturally, the teachers would not notice. At 5:30 p.m., Yun Jian and Zhu Huili came to the school gymnasium on time. At this time, there were a few tables in the gymnasium. As the class monitor, Lu Zhenlin was organizing the students to blow up balloons. When he saw Yun Jian and Zhu Huili coming over, he asked Yun Jian and Zhu Huili to help. Phew! Phew! Huff! Zhu Huili's lung capacity was big, so he could blow one in one breath. Yun Jian also bragged a few times. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the freshman computer class 13's freshman fellowship party officially began. Other than the students in the same class, nearly half of the students were from other classes or other schools. Actually, the new student association was just for everyone to get to know each other and play games together. That was all. Ah! Look, the campus beau of Dongfang University. He was too handsome. He's even more handsome than the most popular guy in our school. That's Song Yu. School hunk song. Why is campus hunk song here? Ah! I'm really going to die from how handsome he is. Don't say that. He's definitely here to look for our class belle, Missouri Lianhua. We can forget about it. In the class, only Mo Lianhua knows the campus hunk song. The surrounding girls immediately started discussing among themselves. Yun Jian had entered the school more than 10 days late. With the addition of military training, she entered the school more than 20 days later than the other students. The prettiest girl in the class was a girl named Mo Lianhua. At this moment, Mo Lianhua was being praised by everyone around her. She covered her face and pretended to be embarrassed. However, at this moment, another girl's voice sounded. Hey, don't say that. I used to think that Mo Lianhua was the prettiest girl in our class. However, compared to the girl who entered the school later, she's not even on the same level. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. That's really the case. Someone immediately responded. For a moment, all the public opinion turned to Yun Jian's side. Mo Lianhua, who was pretending to be shy, froze when she heard what the surrounding people said. Yun Jian stood in the corner and blinked slightly. At this moment, Song Yu, who was known as the campus hunk of Dongfang University next door, had already walked through the gate. Song Yu looked around and walked toward Mo Lianhua. Ah, campus hunk Song is really walking toward Mo Lianhua. Mo Lianhua is so lucky. I'm so envious. The surrounding girls screamed again. At this moment, Yun Jian was sitting in the corner, resting with her eyes closed. However, just as Song Yu was about to reach Mo Lianhua, he stopped in his tracks and suddenly asked, By the way, I heard that there's a girl named Yun Jian in your class. Who is she? Upon hearing that Song Yu actually asked a question, the girls who knew pointed at Yun Jian and rushed to answer. She. That's her. Yun Jian, who was suddenly called, frowned slightly and opened her eyes. Song Yu was already looking at Yun Jian. When he saw Yun Jian's appearance, Song Yu was shocked. So beautiful. In the afternoon, when he heard that the Martial Arts Club of Zhongqing University of Electronic Science and Technology of China had a new girl as the president, and that the girl even beat up the president of the Green Bull Gang, Song Yu thought that the girl would be burly and stocky. However, he never expected that the girl would be so beautiful. Song Yu was fascinated. He stared at Yun Jian and couldn't take his eyes off her. Mo Lianhua originally thought that Song Yu would walk toward her, but his attention was attracted by Yun Jian. She instantly felt that Yun Jian had stolen her limelight. She clenched her fists. At this moment, a small follower beside Mo Lianhua saw that Mo Lianhua was unhappy. In order to please Mo Lianhua, she suddenly stood up and pointed at Yun Jian. Oh, so her name is Yun Jian. Last week, I saw her get into a man's car. That car was an expensive Lamborghini. I didn't see the man clearly, but I guess he's quite old. Because her clothes didn't match that sports car, I took a second look. That man seemed to be touching her in the car. Chapter 2008. Song Yu was the school hunk of Dongfang University next door. His position in the hearts of the girls of Dongfang University was no worse than Mo Bufan at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. Song Yu had also suddenly heard this afternoon that Mo Bufan's position as the president of the Martial Arts Club at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China had been taken away by a girl. Young men and women in university had a lot of free time because they didn't have much to do in university. They relied on self-study and self-study. Therefore, even the slightest movement of the grass in the wind could be spread out like a rocket. Mo Bufan was the default school hunk of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. His martial arts club was his symbol. Now, Mo Bufan had actually given up his martial arts club to someone else, and the other party was a girl. This matter had not only spread throughout the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, but even the students of the surrounding universities had also heard the news. This morning, the news of Yun Jian bringing people from the martial arts club to the Green Bull Gang's territory and beating up the gang's president, Wu Ran, had spread. Even more so, a huge wave was swept up. Song Yu's connections extended in all directions. This matter had long been heard of. Today, Mo Lianhua had invited Song Yu to attend her freshman computer class 13's freshman fellowship party. Song Yu had originally wanted to walk towards Mo Lianhua when he entered the gymnasium. However, he suddenly remembered that the famous new president of the martial arts club, the girl named Yun Jian, was also in freshman computer class 13. Therefore, out of curiosity, he asked. He had thought that Yun Jian was fat and strong, but Song Yu had never expected her to be so beautiful. Mo Lianhua had been the school's campus belle since junior high school. In high school and university, she had always been praised for her beauty. However, just now, her limelight had actually been stolen by this new student from her class. She couldn't accept it. Mo Lianhua was about to speak when the little follower standing next to Mo Lianhua said those words in order to please Mo Lianhua. After hearing what the little follower next to Mo Lianhua said, the noisy scene instantly fell silent. Yun Jian wasn't dressed badly, but she wasn't wearing branded clothes. She gave people the impression that her family background wasn't bad, but it couldn't be that good either. What Mo Lianhua's sidekick said wasn't it a roundabout way of saying that Yun Jian was kept by an old man? This made some of the boys who were originally interested in Yun Jian look at her in a different light. Nonsense! Are you talking about the Mid-Autumn Festival last week? I went home with Yun Jian that day. Don't slander me. Although Zhu Huili was chubby, she was still the first to stand up for Yun Jian and confront Mo Lianhua's sidekick angrily. Didn't you get separated from her at the gate? I saw it with my own eyes. She got into a Lamborghini sports car. The man in the car seems to be quite old. Mo Lianhua's lackey replied. In fact, she didn't see how the man driving the Lamborghini looked like or whether he was young. She only saw Yun Jian get into a Lamborghini sports car. Zhu Huili was an honest and down-to-earth person. She did get separated from Yun Jian at the gate. This was true. Therefore, after hearing what Mo Lianhua's sidekick said, Zhu Huili opened her mouth but couldn't say anything to refute. She didn't know what happened later. Mo Lianhua's sidekick immediately put on an expression that said, "You have nothing to say about this." Yun Jian didn't say anything from the beginning. Outstanding people always attracted the attention of countless people. Even if you sat still, people would come looking for you. Just as Mo Lianhua's sidekick was feeling complacent, Yun Jian, who was sitting in the distance, suddenly stood up. Before Song Yu could react from the sidekick's words, he saw that Yun Jian ignored them. She only greeted Zhu Huili and walked out. The fellowship party has started. Where are you going? Lu Zhenlin, the class monitor, didn't like gossip. He saw Yun Jian walking out and asked. Yun Jian only left one sentence for everyone, to pick up my 3 old friends. A. Chapter 2009. As soon as she finished speaking, Yun Jian's figure had already disappeared from everyone's sight. She didn't say anything and didn't explain anything. She left midway. Then you have to come back quickly. Our class's social gathering is about to begin. Class monitor Lu Zhenlin saw Yun Jian walk out of the gymnasium. He put his hands by his mouth and shouted in the direction where Yun Jian had left. At that time, Yun Jian had already walked far away. Class monitor, why do you care about that woman who sells her body for money? I think she might be some old man's mistress. I already said it out loud, but she didn't dare to refute because that's the truth. That's why she ran away. Mo Lianhua's sidekick looked in the direction where Yun Jian had left and said a few words angrily. Mo Lianhua's sidekick was called Pan Qian. Pan Qian was Mo Lianhua's #1 sidekick. She usually stirred up trouble with Mo Lianhua and bullied many girls. At this time, Mo Lianhua stood up and walked towards Song Yu. Then, she held Song Yu's hand in front of everyone. You, Why didn't you greet me immediately when you came? Mo Lianhua said shyly. I was curious about the new president of your school's martial arts club. Song Yu, who had just reacted when Yun Jian left, pretended that he hadn't noticed Yun Jian. He scratched his head and let Mo Lianhua hold his hand as he spoke. However, it was quite disappointing. Thinking about how such a beautiful woman was being kept as a mistress by an old man and being pressed under him every day. Song Yu shook his head. Sure enough, girls like Yun Jian could be played in bed, but they weren't suitable to be someone to spend the rest of their life with. Obviously, Yun Jian didn't explain. Everyone thought that Yun Jian was really being kept as a mistress by an old man, as Pan Qian said. Only Zhu Huili still believed in Yun Jian. However, she couldn't produce any evidence. At this time, Yun Jian had just walked out of the gymnasium and was walking toward the school gate while everyone was talking about her. She had just received a message saying that the 3 team leaders of the Kosha mercenaries had arrived in Jiangqing City. They were now at the entrance of the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. Yun Jian walked over quickly and saw 3 familiar figures standing at the entrance of the University of Rivertown. The words University of Electronic Science and Technology of China were engraved on the school monument. There were also some students entering and leaving the school. It was very common to see foreigners in the university. Because there were many foreign students in the university, as long as you walked in the university town, you would see a few foreigners who were talking in a foreign language you didn't understand from time to time. As for the 3 team leaders of the Kosha mercenaries, Diana, Ghost Flame, and Ghost Flame were not as conspicuous. The leader of the intelligence team, Diane, gave Yun Jian a big hug when she saw Yun Jian coming over and spoke in fluent Chinese. Sister Jian, is there an emergency since you called us here? Yes. Yun Jian nodded and scanned their surroundings from the corner of her eye, looking at Diane and the other 2 girls. She looked at Diane and said, It's not convenient here. See you tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon at Hungtong Old Street. Find a hotel to stay in first. Okay. Diane and the other 2 had never questioned Yun Jian's orders and simply followed them. After that, the 3 of them turned and left as if they had never been here. Yun Jian turned as well and returned to the gymnasium in no time. She had only gone to the school gate to meet Diane and the other 2. It was not appropriate for her to stay any longer, so Yun Jian returned to the gymnasium after setting the meeting place. Yun Jian was keeping a low profile this time. When she returned to the gymnasium, her classmates had already started playing games and were having a blast. Yun Jian went back to her corner discreetly, not planning to participate in the activities. She had more important things to do and more powerful enemies to deal with. She was different from this group of carefree students. However, before she could go back to her seat beside Zhu Huili, Pan Qian, who had said that Yun Jian had gotten into an old man's car, saw Yun Jian right away and started to stir up trouble in front of everyone. Look, Yun Jian from our class is back. She said she was going to pick up 3 old friends, but I think she went to pick up 3 old clients. What's wrong? She's back so soon? Could it be that the 3 old customers you just went to pick up are all old men? How did they finish their business so quickly? TSK, you earn money fast. A. Chapter 2010. Pan Qian was the kind of person who would feel itchy even if she didn't pick a fight. Especially when there was something to pick on. The limelight had already passed, but Pan Qian still wanted to make things difficult for her. Otherwise, Pan Qian would feel itchy in her heart. In addition, Pan Qian was Mo Lianhua's #1 follower. Yun Jian had attracted Song Yu's attention for a while, so Pan Qian had been unhappy. She felt that her Mo Lianhua was the prettiest in the class and was the best match for Song Yu. Yun Jian actually wanted to attract Song Yu's attention? Bah! She was the president of the martial arts club through some unknown means? Then she, Pan Qian, would ruin her reputation. Because Pan Qian had spread rumors about Yun Jian before, Yun Jian didn't say anything. Therefore, Pan Qian increasingly believed that Yun Jian was afraid of her and didn't dare to challenge her, so she became more arrogant. Her words were so unpleasant that everyone present frowned. Qian, how can you say that? Every profession is not easy. Everyone has their own difficulties. Even if she sells her body to make money, it's also a kind of ability. You can't insult her like this. Mo Lianhua pretended to be pitiful. She held Song Yu's hand and shrank towards him as she softly reprimanded Pan Qian. Those who didn't know would really think that Mo Lianhua was speaking up for Yun Jian. Sister Lianhua, you're still too kind. You don't know the dangers of society. A girl like her is very scheming. Pan Qian patted Mo Lianhua's hand and glared fiercely at Yun Jian in the distance. Wasn't she just a poor person who didn't dare to resist and had no power or influence? She could sell her body for money. Shameless to the extreme. However, just when Pan Qian proudly thought that Yun Jian wouldn't resist her, a faint female voice sounded coldly. You can say it a few more times. This faint female voice was like the grim reaper from hell, causing everyone present to feel a chill run down their spines. Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, Pan Qian, Zhu Huili, and the class monitor Lu Zhenlin, including all the freshmen of Computer Science Class 13 present, as well as the people from other classes and schools who came to join in the fun, felt their hearts tremble. When they reacted, they were surprised again. Yun Jian actually asked Pan Qian to say it a few more times? Is she crazy? Ha! You're not really stupid, are you? You actually want me to say it a few more times? Pan Qian was also dumbfounded. Then, she looked at Yun Jian with a look of disdain. Could it be that he had hit the nail on the head, and he had said it in front of all the students, so he couldn't accept it and started to talk nonsense? Song Yu had already stopped paying attention to Yun Jian. At this moment, when he heard Yun Jian's words that came out of nowhere, his attention was attracted again. She was really a mysterious girl. Of course, if Pan Qian hadn't mentioned that matter, Song Yu would have definitely abandoned Mo Lianhua and turned to pursue Yun Jian. It didn't matter to Song Yu whether Yun Jian was a virgin or not, because there were plenty of young men and women at her age who would steal the forbidden fruit. Most of the young men and women went there for fun. Song Yu himself had also slept with many girls. But when he heard Pan Qian say that Yun Jian might be a mistress kept by an old man, Song Yu despised it. He was a man, and he was also the campus hunk of Dongfang University. Naturally, it was impossible for him to walk together with a girl who was kept as a mistress. Of course, Song Yu originally thought that at worst, he would secretly sleep with Yun Jian a few times, and his girlfriend would be someone like Mo Lianhua who could be taken out. That would be enough. As for Song Yu, he could dump his girlfriend at any time, so it was fine if she wasn't a virgin. But the woman who would spend the rest of his life with him in the future must be a virgin. This thought was shared by many young men. But please don't forget one thing. How fragrant do you think you are? Are you a fragrant bun? Second-hand goods like you are really worthy of such a clean girl. Go take a piss and look at yourself. The soul turned to reality. Just when Pan Qian, Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and everyone present thought that Yun Jian was stupid and began to talk nonsense, Yun Jian, who was sitting in a small corner, suddenly stood up in front of everyone. Pan Qian glanced over with contempt, only to see Yun Jian's hands hanging down. She grabbed the air with both hands. Two butterfly knives, shining with silver light under the fluorescent lights of the gymnasium, were held in her left and right hands, with the blades facing down. Just like the female assassins in the movies, Yun Jian grabbed the two butterfly knives. Her cold eyes darkened, and she slowly walked towards Pan Qian from the corner. Knife, knife, knife. Where did the knife in her hand come from? She actually hid a knife on her body. Everyone around was so scared that they screamed. An ordinary female student actually hid a knife on her body. But before everyone could react, Yun Jian was already approaching Pan Qian. Under her cold face without a trace of warmth, a red arc moved, and she said coldly, "Because if you don't say it now, you will never have the chance to speak again in this life." A. Chapter 2011. Imagine a female university student participating in a social gathering organized by her class. Suddenly, two butterfly knives appeared in her hands out of nowhere. Moreover, her action of taking out the butterfly knives was like a female secret agent in a movie, appearing in her hands in an instant. This was such a shocking action. At least everyone present was shocked. And the cold words coming out of Yun Jian's mouth made everyone present change their expressions in shock. Did she mean to kill Pan Qian? You, what are you going to do? Am I not telling the truth? You can't take it, so you want to kill someone? Let me tell you, if you dare to come near me again, don't blame me for being rude. Pan Qian was so frightened by Yun Jian's action that she took a few steps back. In the gymnasium, the scene that had just calmed down was once again noisy. But this time, it was noisy because of the 2 butterfly knives in Yun Jian's hands. Yun Jian, there are so many people watching. Don't be too emotional. Qian definitely doesn't have any bad intentions. I told everyone not to talk about you. This is nothing. Even if you really did, it's nothing. Everyone, stop talking about her. You, help say something. It's nothing to make money with one's body. It's all based on one's own ability. You, help say something. Mo Lianhua saw Yun Jian walking towards Pan Qian with the butterfly knives. She couldn't help but panic. She was afraid that Yun Jian would accidentally hurt her with the knives. She quickly grabbed Song Yu's strong arm and hid behind him. Mo Lianhua insisted that Yun Jian made money with her body, which was the same as what Pan Qian said. At the beginning, Pan Qian and Mo Lianhua's words were enough to make the surrounding people misunderstand. If Yun Jian stood up to clear her name at the beginning, not only would she not be able to clear her name, but it would also become the result of her desperately trying to clear her name, but no one would listen to her. Therefore, Yun Jian was too lazy to explain from the beginning. As for now, Pan Qian's words meant to destroy her. It was not like at the beginning when she was just spreading rumors. If Yun Jian didn't do anything, she would be a coward. Mo Lianhua grabbed Song Yu's arm and he tilted his head to look at Yun Jian. Although Mo Lianhua was good-looking, the closer Yun Jian got to him, the more Song Yu felt that Yun Jian looked exquisite. Such a beautiful girl, if she wasn't a mistress, he would definitely pursue her and make her his girlfriend. Unfortunately, she was only qualified to warm his bed now. Stop fooling around. It's time for your class's social gathering. You don't deserve the knife in your hand. The blade will hurt your hand, and it won't be good if you bleed. Be good, give me the knife. Song Yu followed Mo Lianhua and took 2 steps towards Yun Jian. He wanted to find an excuse to make Yun Jian obediently hand over the butterfly knife to him. At the same time, he could touch Yun Jian's tender hand. Wow! Campus Hunk Song is indeed the #1 campus hunk in Dongfang University. He's so gentle. I'm so jealous. If it were me, I would feel disgusted just by touching a woman who spreads her legs under a man. Exactly. The boys and girls in the gymnasium started chattering. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She could see Mo Lianhua and Pan Qian looking at her with smug eyes. Yun Jian! Yun Jian! Look who's here! Just as everyone present thought so, and Mo Lianhua and Pan Qian were looking at Yun Jian with a scheming expression, a male voice came from outside the gymnasium. Everyone present looked towards the door. They saw Mo Bufan leading 6 figures that Yun Jian was familiar with through the door and walking towards her. When she saw the 6 people, Yun Jian's eyes narrowed even more. However, just as Mo Lianhua, Pan Qian, Song Yu, and everyone else present thought that Yun Jian was just putting on an act by holding the butterfly knife, and that she was just a woman who sold her body under a man. Mo Bufan led the 6 of them to Yun Jian. His exclamation was heard in front of everyone. You're the one who's going to die. Good. Yun Jian, you're not a good brother. You didn't tell us before. I bumped into them at the school gate just now. They said they were looking for you. So I brought them over. I only found out after chatting with them. At first, I thought you were just a high school student who went to military school. I didn't expect you to be the famous Advanced Special Forces soldier from 2 years ago, the killing god of Team Monarch. You were once known as the undefeated legend of the military. A. Chapter 2012. You're 2F** King Low-Key. It was Mo Bufan who shouted the last word. Mo Bufan had just met the 6 of them at the university entrance. The 6 of them were none other than Chu Ning, Chu Xiongnan, Jiang Weiwei, Lu Shiyun, Feng Xiaoran, and Hong Fan, whom he had not seen for a long time. Chu Ning and the other 5 were now in the military academy. Back then, the 6 of them entered Min City Military Academy earlier than Yun Jian. The youngest of the 6, Chu Ning, was 1 year older than Yun Jian. Yun Jian had skipped grades and was now in her first year like Chu Ning. Mo Bufan saw Chu Ning and the other 5 stopping the students at the school entrance and asked if they knew Yun Jian. Chu Ning and the other 5 knew that Yun Jian was back, but they only knew that Yun Jian was at Rivertown University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, so they rushed over to look for her. After not seeing each other for 2 years, the 6 of them missed Yun Jian very much. This was the friendship between friends who had fought together in the past. Mo Bufan heard Chu Ning and the other 5 asking if they knew Yun Jian at the school entrance, so he went over. Then, he led the 6 of them to the gymnasium to look for Yun Jian. Along the way, he heard a lot about Yun Jian's legendary incident in Min City Military Academy. Although Yun Jian had been missing for 2 years, her title as the strongest slashing god in Team Monarch was still deeply etched in everyone's hearts. The 2 words slashing god were once the hero in many young people's hearts and the object of their reverence. Even Mo Bufan had heard of Team Monarch's slashing god back then, and with the group of students around him, he madly inquired about the deeds of Team Monarch's slashing god. Mo Bufan would never have thought that the legendary person whom they admired so much just from hearing the 2 words slashing god was actually Yun Jian. Therefore, as soon as he rushed into the gymnasium, Mo Bufan used the most frightened and shocked voice in his life to shout those words. Without a doubt, the meaning behind Mo Bufan's words made everyone present, including Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and Pan Qian, widen their eyes after they digested it. Yun Jian went to military academy? Or the famous Team Monarch slashing god? Song Yu was obviously the same as Mo Bufan. He had once revered the legendary figure of Country Z. Therefore, at the same time, Song Yu widened his eyes and looked at Yun Jian in disbelief. Mo Lianhua, who had been comparing Yun Jian's looks to her, stumbled. Her lips instantly turned pale, and she forgot to put on a persona. She shook her head in disbelief. Impossible. How could this be? If Yun Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god, the rumors of her selling herself to an old man for money would be dispelled. Moreover, if Yun Jian was from the military, then Mo Lianhua, Pan Qian, and the others would be insulting the military. If Yun Jian wanted to pursue the matter, then everyone at the scene, including freshman computer science class 13, as well as students from other classes or schools who came to join in the fun, were shocked. Pan Qian, who had been dealing with Yun Jian, turned pale. Why not? The other 6 members of Team Monarch are here. Listen to them yourselves. Mo Bufan took a step back and let the 6 of them stand in front of the crowd. They're the other 6 members of Team Monarch? Everyone was stunned when Mo Bufan finished his words. The 7 members of Team Monarch were not superstars, but each of them had outstanding skills. They were more like superstars now, and their names were known throughout the country. Slashing God had been missing for 2 years. The other 6 members of Team Monarch did not work for nothing. They had set countless records in the past 2 years, pushing Team Monarch's name to the highest point. They used their actions to tell everyone that although they were not as capable as Yun Jian, they would not be a burden to Yun Jian. You're all here. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at Chu Ning and the other 5 who had matured a lot. Her words were simple, just like before. Yes, we heard that you're back, Captain Lu Shiyun said, controlling his emotions. With that, Lu Shiyun took out a medal with the word slashing god engraved on it from his pants pocket and tossed it to Yun Jian. He suppressed his excitement, and his firm words echoed throughout the place. Everyone was stunned as if they had seen Team Monarch's past achievements. This is a medal that we earned through our own efforts. It's engraved with each of our code names, symbolizing the 7 of us. I've been keeping it for you, and now I'm returning it to you. Yun Jian, we've waited for you for 2 years. You're an invincible legend. You're a god in our hearts. Today, as the captain of Team Monarch, I formally invite you, Slashing God 006, to return to Team Monarch. A. Chapter 2013. Yun Jian, was never someone who would not talk back after being insulted. Thus, after Hong Junhua finished speaking, Yun Jian immediately followed up. Yun Jian's nonchalance was tinged with a sense of dread. Hong Junhua was stunned. Chen Ilan and Hong Taishan were also stunned. What do you mean by that? After cursing your own mother, you're now cursing my daughter? Chen Ilan was eager to protect her daughter. When she heard Yun Jian's words, she was furious and immediately slammed the table and stood up. Chen Ilan was a typical village girl. Even after marrying Hong Taishan, who later became rich, she still had the poverty in her bones. When the people around heard this, an old woman who used to know the deceased Lu Lanhua quickly stood up and said to Chen Ilan, Hey, What are you doing? Yelling and screaming before Lu Lanhua is buried. You're the unfortunate one. Amit ba. Amit ba. Let the bad ones go. Good luck is coming. Good luck is coming. The old woman was obviously very superstitious. She clasped her hands together and prayed left and right as she mumbled something. After hearing the old woman's words, Chen Ilan was still angry. She turned to look at Yun Jian and glared at Yun Jian. She said to Qin Yiru angrily, "Daughters are meant to be daughters. Daughters are meant to be taken care of. Your daughter speaks rudely. When she goes out into society in the future, she will suffer a great loss. Those who don't know better will think that your daughter has no parents to raise her." Chen Ilan was the type of rich madam who fussed over every little thing. There was a shrewish streak in her bones that couldn't be reasoned with. Whenever someone said something she didn't like, she would scold them every time she looked at them. She was a typical commoner. Normally, after saying this, most people would stop talking and not say anything more. At most, they would just turn their heads and ignore each other. However, after Chen Ilan said this, she didn't care. She was already in her 40s, but she looked like she was going to rain dog blood on Yun Jian, who had just turned 18. "You're scolding my daughter? You're scolding my daughter. Scold my daughter if you have the ability." What the hell was that? Did he think that he was powerful? Hee. At Lu Lanhua's funeral, Yun Jian did not want to cause any more trouble. At least, she wanted to save some face for Qin Yiru. Therefore, when Hong Junhua and Chen Ilan said a few words earlier, she did not directly attack them. She had already given them enough face. Moreover, Yun Jian was not a person who could endure silently. She was being bullied like this. If she did not retaliate, then sorry, she could not do it. "Ilan, what's going on?" A middle-aged woman walked out of the house. She was obviously a close relative of Chen Ilan's family. When she heard Chen Ilan's words, she quickly walked over and asked. This middle-aged woman was called Chen Yumei. She was the wife of Chen Ilan's younger brother. Many relatives and friends knew that Chen Ilan's family was well off. Chen Yumei wanted to curry favor with Chen Ilan, so she would often flatter Chen Ilan whenever she had the chance. As a matter of fact, Chen Ilan's scolding stopped after Chen Yumei asked her a question. Then she continued scolding. "This woman is scolding my daughter. She's scolding my daughter to death. Hee. What the hell? Hee. She's even scolding my daughter." Chen Ilan seemed to be angry but had nothing to say. She kept repeating those words. However, just as Chen Ilan was scolding and shaking her body, Yun Jian suddenly interrupted Chen Ilan's scolding. "If you move again you can die." Everyone was stunned when she said that. Then, Yun Jian reached out and grabbed the empty bowl in front of her. Without even looking up, she threw the empty bowl toward Chen Ilan. That bowl flew toward Chen Ilan's neck under everyone's gaze. When Chen Ilan sensed it, she froze. At the same time, she clearly felt the bowl fly past her neck by 0.1 millimeters. Ping pang. The bowl broke into pieces. Everyone looked in that direction. However, after the bowl fell to the ground, one of the broken pieces of the bowl flew up and directly pierced the fatal spot of a mouse that was moving so fast that it was impossible for people to catch it. The bowl slices pierced into the rat's body right in front of everyone's eyes, penetrating deep into the wood and killing the rat on the spot. When Chen Ilan saw the bowl fly past, she also turned her head to look. When she saw the shrapnel flying into the rat's fatal spot and penetrating deep into its body to kill it, she paled in fright when she heard what Yun Jian said just now. Everyone around was stunned. However, at this moment, Yun Jian stood up in front of everyone. Her expression changed slightly as she walked toward the rat that had died on the spot. The words that came out of her mouth made Chen Ilan and everyone else's faces change again. "I told you not to move in front of me. So die. A." Chapter 2014. Pan Qian thought that it was just an ordinary sports car. However, Pan Qian did not expect the Lamborghini to be. That Lamborghini is a global limited edition? And it's a super sports car that's only sold in the world? Pan Qian's eyes widened in shock as she exclaimed. Everyone around, including Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and class monitor Lu Zhenlin, gasped in shock when they heard Chuning's words. How much money would it take to afford it? Pan Qian mumbled blankly. Do you think you can afford a limited edition sports car just because you're rich? So many business tycoons have offered sky-high prices to buy a limited edition sports car, but they all returned empty-handed. You're really stupid. Your knowledge is limited to school. How unsophisticated. Chu Ning's mouth was not for show. She had bullied Chu Xiongnan for the past 2 years. When she heard Pan Qian say that Yun Jian was a kept woman, Chu Ning almost rushed over to beat her up. In fact, Yun Jian had already kept her butterfly knife when Mo Bufan, Chu Ning, and the others appeared. After being attacked by Chu Ning for a while, Pan Qian was angry and resentful. However, other than being angry, Pan Qian could not say a word. Her face turned pale and her eyes were wide open. She looked like she was scared to death. All right, don't talk nonsense with such ignorant people. Yun Jian, we haven't seen each other in so long. Let's go out for a gathering. Jiang Weiwei took over Chu Ning's words and said to Yun Jian. The 7 members of Team Monarch were now a team and had great chemistry. Yun Jian nodded. She put one hand in her trouser pocket and walked lazily to the entrance of the gym. Just as she reached the entrance, Yun Jian turned around and looked at the dumbfounded class monitor Lu Zhenlin. She said, I'll take a leave of absence. I won't be joining the gathering. With that, Yun Jian turned around and faced Song Yu and the others with her back. She reached out her other hand that was not in her trouser pocket and waved at Chu Ning and the others. The 7 of them then walked out of the door. Yun Jian did not wait for class monitor Lu Zhenlin's permission. Yun Jian had always done things her own way, and no one could stop her. Pan Qian heaved a sigh of relief when Yun Jian's figure disappeared before everyone's eyes. Then, she stared at the place where Yun Jian disappeared and said fiercely, What's so great about having a rich boyfriend? Even if you have a rich boyfriend, your boyfriend will definitely be short, fat, ugly, short and fat. Why are you so cocky? Pan Qian suddenly shouted in the direction where Yun Jian had left. Just like Brother Kai from the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. His family was so rich that he could give girls gold necklaces and silver rings, but he was still an ugly man. God, everything is fair. Pan Qian thought that Yun Jian's man was also an ugly man. Moreover, he was very fat and ugly. This kind of man was rich. Most of his money came from his family. Since he was young, he had raised himself to be fair and plump. He was so fat that one could not bear to look at him directly. And he especially liked to steal women. At the thought of this, Pan Qian felt that her envy towards Yun Jian's rich boyfriend had lessened by a lot. She wanted to find a handsome and rich man in the future. Qian, how many times have I told you? Why are you always like this? You can't curse people like that. It's immoral. Mo Lianhua saw that Yun Jian had left and returned to her innocent self. As she said that, Mo Lianhua leaned on Song Yu. You, don't you think so? Lianhua, you're still so kind. Song Yu pulled Mo Lianhua into his arms, but his eyes were looking in the direction where Yun Jian had left. He was in a daze for a long time. So she's not a mistress. So she's the killing god of Team Monarch that so many people admire. Only a girl like that is worthy of a person of noble status like me. Yun Jian. Song Yu kept repeating that name in his heart. I'm looking forward to our next meeting. Chapter 2015. In the gymnasium, Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and Pan Qian each had their own thoughts. To the other students in Year 1 Computer Science Class 13, as well as students from other classes and schools. Although what happened just now was shocking, everyone went about their own business once the commotion was over. Under the organization of their class monitor, Lu Zhenlin, they continued to participate in the class gathering. It was undeniable that their class monitor, Lu Zhenlin, was very good at organizing. Soon, the atmosphere of the event reached its peak again. What happened just now was like a farce that was quickly forgotten by everyone. Of course, after Yun Jian left, Zhu Huili was not alone. There were still many friendly girls in the class, except for a few who made others speechless. In short, other than Yun Jian, Zhu Huili made many friends as well. University girls were generally more normal and friendly. This was especially true for freshmen who had just enrolled. Everyone was in an unfamiliar environment and had no friends, so they would be very friendly to everyone in the class. It was only when they got along for a long time and had established friends that they would reveal their true nature. This was a person's instinct to protect themselves in an unfamiliar environment. Of course, the existence of girls like Emo Lianhua and Pan Qian could not be excluded. On the other hand, Yun Jian, Chu Ning, and the other 5 had arrived at a street of stalls near the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. When they were in Min City Military Academy, Yun Jian would also go to the stalls and restaurants along the road with Chu Ning and the other 5. Although it was cool at night, walking along the bustling street where the breeze blew gently, choosing a stall with good food to sit down, and ordering a few meals to savor was a very ordinary but happy thing. The stalls were not exactly clean, but Yun Jian was only after this warm feeling. The 7 of them came to a handmade noodle shop on the street. Yun Jian ordered pickled vegetables and shredded pork noodles while Chu Ning and the other 5 had ordered their favorite noodles. They were currently sitting on the temporary stalls and waiting for their turn. Yun Jian. Do you know you scared me to death? You went missing from the hunting school for 2 years straight away. I almost thought you were. I don't care. I'll treat you this time. Next time, you have to treat me 3 or 4 times. Don't forget. Chu Ning tapped her clean chopsticks against the small bowl that she was planning to use to fill her noodles. Although Chu Ning's words sounded like she was trying to trick Yun Jian into giving her a treat, Yun Jian knew that she was just worried about her. Giving her a treat was just a lame excuse. Okay, I won't forget. Yun Jian looked at Chu Ning's beautiful face that was obviously relieved and smiled. Alright, isn't Yun Jian back already? Chopsticks are for eating, not for knocking. If you knock like this, all the bacteria that you can't see will go into the bowl. Give me the chopsticks. Compared to 2 years ago, Chu Xiongnan was much calmer. He snatched the chopsticks from Chu Ning's hand and gave her a few instructions. It's none of your business. Chu Ning pursed her lips, looking like she did not mean what she said. These 2 are dating. Yun Jian, don't bother about them. Right, how have you been these 2 years? Jiang Weiwei interrupted Chu Ning and Chu Xiangnan's conversation and asked Yun Jian. Hearing that Chu Ning and Chu Xiangnan were dating, Yun Jian smiled but was not too surprised. After all, she could tell 2 years ago that Chu Ning and Chu Xiangnan were quite compatible. On second thought, however, Jiang Weiwei was asking about her recent situation in the past 2 years. She had been staying in the Celestial Spring with CE for the past 2 years, 666 days, not a day less. Similarly, during the 666 days in the Celestial Spring, CE had not missed a single day of the embarrassing things he did to her. Once she thought about the 666 days and nights she spent in the Holy Spring. Her cheeks flushed and the tips of her ears burned. She tried her best to look calm as she answered, I'm sorry. I've been living well these 2 years. Chapter 2016. My Yun Jian is amazing. How can she not be doing well? But Yun Jian, why is your face so red? Are you having a fever? Chu Ning asked when she caught a glimpse of the redness on both sides of Yun Jian's cheeks. Just like 2 years ago, Yun Jian's hair was tied up in a high ponytail and she was in high spirits. Since her rebirth, Yun Jian's ponytail had never been cut short. Yun Jian liked this style too. Her hair falling down affected her peripheral vision and alerted her surroundings. Her high ponytail tied her hair up high and her long hair flowed freely, giving her a relaxed and joyful feeling. However, there was one downside. Once her face flushed, there was no loose hair to cover the redness. Even her ears were exposed and her expression could be seen clearly. It's normal for a young lady to react this way. The stove at my house that cooks handmade noodles gives off a lot of heat. We're usually flushed when we come out of the kitchen. It's probably affected outside too. The restaurant owner came over with 2 bowls of piping hot pickled vegetables and shredded pork noodles that had just come out of the pot. He explained after hearing Chu Ning's words. As he spoke, he placed the 2 bowls of noodles on the table. These 2 bowls are pickled vegetables and shredded pork noodles. There are 5 bowls of other noodles. I'll serve all of you right away. The restaurant owner smiled and went to the kitchen as he spoke. With that, Yun Jian successfully concealed the truth of her blush. Oh, I see. Chu Ning nodded, looking like a great detective. The 7 people's noodles were served one after another. It was an ordinary supper, but everyone was having a great time eating it. Along the way, he also talked about the scene when the 7 of them first met each other, as if it was only yesterday and still vivid in their minds. Yunjian, I still remember when you first came in. I kept picking on you and even made things difficult for you. You're so generous. If it were other girls, they'd probably be my nemesis for life. Jiang Weiwei could not help feeling guilty when she mentioned how she had picked on Yunjian back then. You still know that you're bad. I thought you didn't know. At that time, I really wanted to ignore you for the rest of my life. You're so arrogant. Chu Ning was filled with anger whenever she mentioned Jiang Weiwei. Why are you still talking to me then, Xiaoning? Jiang Weiwei pinched Chu Ning's cheeks and burst into laughter. Anyway, it's good that everyone is doing well, Feng Xiaoran, who was usually quiet, said with a smile. That's right. Vice Captain Hong Fan nodded. The 7 members of Team Monarch had been through a lot to get to where they were today. Their future was not over yet. The starting point of a king has just begun. After eating supper and walking around for a while, Chu Ning and the others found a hotel to stay in and returned home the next day. Although Chu Ning and the others were disappointed that Yun Jian did not plan to continue studying in the military academy, they still respected Yun Jian's choice. At the same time, Chu Ning and the others also invited Yun Jian to visit their university's military academy when she was free. The military academy in the university was completely different from the Min City Military Academy in high school. Yun Jian agreed. Chu Ning and the others rushed back to school early the next morning. Of course, they were faced with the punishment for skipping class. Yun Jian arrived at Hengtong Old Street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on time to meet Dian and the other 2. However, before Dian and the other 2 could see her, Yun Jian saw a few figures that she did not want to see. Hengtong Old Street was near the university town and was a popular place for couples and friends of the opposite sex to meet. Besides, the environment was good and there were green trees all around. Hengtong Old Street, as the name suggested, was an ancient street. Walking on Hengtong Old Street made one feel as if they had returned to the old streets when they were young. Some of the old streets were built in the 30s and 40s of the last century and had a very antique vibe. There was a constant stream of people coming and going in the food street of the old street every day. Of course, the place where Yun Jian met Dian and the other 2 was not in a crowded place. Instead, it was in a small pond pavilion on Hengtong Old Street. However, to get to the almost empty pond pavilion, one had to pass through the bustling old street. As a matter of fact, Yun Jian saw 3 people that she did not want to see: Song Yu, Emo Lianhua, and Pan Qian. Look at the 3 of them. They came together as a group of young men and women. The group of young men and women were generally good-looking and beautiful. They must have come out to shop during the day. Chapter 2017. With just one look, she could tell that the car's specifications were low, and she even listed out all the specifications of the car, just like the salesperson who sold the car. Everyone around them was stunned. Even Chen Yilon's sister-in-law, Chen Yumei, widened her eyes in shock. It was obvious that she was shocked. Hey, whose daughter is this little girl? You really do sound like you know how to do it. A woman sitting at another table couldn't help but mutter as she held a baby with a pacifier. That's right. The last time my family went to a car dealership, we were thinking of buying a car to go home. This little girl's words matched the salesperson's words. Just the numbers of the car's speed and horsepower are different. She's really professional. A middle-aged man with a crew cut stroked his bald head, which only had a little black hair left, and joked with a laugh. Then, everyone around them praised her. After everyone recovered from their shock, they began to discuss who Yun Jian's daughter was. After all, they were all distant relatives and usually wouldn't meet. Some of the younger generation would only gather together when something big happened when they were in their teens. However, under normal circumstances, when something big happened, everyone would sit around the table and have a meal. Most of the time, they would chat with their close relatives. Usually, at this time, you could only see the faces of your distant relatives. Some of them might be familiar, but you wouldn't know which one of your distant relatives she was or what the relationship between them was like. But for someone like Yun Jian, who stood out a little and had nothing to do, the relatives who were chatting casually would turn their attention to her. Therefore, after the two people finished talking, the group of people around them started to ask about Yun Jian. Which family's daughter is this? Listening to what she said, she's quite capable. She'll definitely have a bright future. Someone asked. This is the daughter of Yun Gang and his ex-wife. Someone answered. The little girl is so eloquent at such a young age. She'll be very eloquent in the future. Although these people were praising Yun Jian, no one took Yun Jian seriously at that time. They were just talking about Yun Jian to pass the time. As for Yun Jian's words, I'll never drive a sports car that costs less than 10 million yuan, no one took it to heart. Some of the people present took these words to heart, but they didn't take it seriously. This person was Chen Yilan. No one was more shocked than Chen Yilan when she heard what Yun Jian said just now. It was because what Yun Jian said was exactly the same as the car specifications and configuration that the salesperson had listed when her family went to the car shop to buy a car. Even the numbers were exactly the same. Therefore, when she heard Yun Jian's words, Chen Yilan's eyelids twitched fiercely. After being stunned, Chen Yilan was unconvinced. Yun Jian said, I'll never drive a sports car that costs less than 10 million yuan. You don't drive a sports car that costs less than 10 million yuan? What do you drive? Tricycle? A tractor? Are you trying to use a tricycle and tractor to see who's faster than my sports car? Chen Yilan blocked Yun Jian directly, stopping Yun Jian who was about to leave from moving forward. She stood where she was, refusing to give way. Yun Jian was going to retrieve her car and return to Longmen City to complete what Qin Yiru had asked her to do, but Chen Yilan blocked her way. Move! Yun Jian's indifferent voice rang with a sense of dread that made one's heart clench tightly. Chen Yilan was not afraid, however. She stood in Yun Jian's way. You scolded my daughter just now, saying that our car's specifications are low. How can you be like this? You even asked me to move aside. Ha! Move aside? Apologize to me first before you leave. Ha! I've never met someone like you, learning to scold people at such a young age. Just as she said that, Yun Jian extended her right leg and kicked Chen Yilan to the ground, rolling away from the spot in front of her. After that, she walked forward with her hands in her pockets as if nothing had happened, leaving a simple and indifferent remark. Childish and boring. A. Chapter 2018. With that, Yun Jian had already walked far away. However, Chen Yilan was never one to be trifled with. After she stood up after being kicked to the ground by Yun Jian, although she felt a slight pain, this slight pain was like a great humiliation in Chen Yilan's eyes. Earlier, when Yun Jian used words to refute Chen Yilan's daughter, Hong Junhua, Chen Yilan exaggerated it and repeated it over 100 times, as if she was afraid that others did not know about Yun Jian's evil deeds. Now that she stood up after being kicked, Chen Yilan felt even more humiliated. Her husband, Hong Taishan, had started a plastic processing factory a few years ago and made a fortune. After the family moved to a big city, which of these relatives and friends did not follow her family's lead? Just like her sister-in-law, Chen Yumei, they flattered Chen Yilan to a whole new level. This almost made Chen Yilan feel that these damned relatives from the countryside could only be the green leaves of a fresh flower like her. Therefore, when she first returned to Xinjiang town, Chen Yilan felt like she had returned to her hometown in glory. However, who would have thought that she would be stuck with Yun Jian and Qin Yiru? Chen Yilan, who had climbed up pathetically from the ground, was about to rush in the direction Yun Jian had left. A slender hand grabbed Chen Yilan's wrist. Chen Yilan could not move and also stopped chasing after Yun Jian like a crazy woman. However, she saw her brother, Yun Yi, standing beside Chen Yilan. His hand was strong as he used his slender hand to grab Chen Yilan's wrist. The strength of his grip caused Chen Yilan's face to turn red from the pain. Then, Yun Yi's cold gaze swept across her. The voice that came from his throat made Chen Yilan tremble violently. If you dare to spout nonsense to my sister again, I'll cripple you. Yun Yi's words, coupled with his tall and slender figure, frightened Chen Yilan so much that her legs gave out. She really didn't have the courage to chase after him and pick a fight with Yun Jian. At the same time, Yun Jian was already driving her red Ferrari on the road from Xinjiang town to Longmen City at high speed. When she came to Longmen City, she bought about a dozen bass and had the fish seller tie them in plastic bags before driving back to Xinjiang town. On the way, Yun Jian took a detour back to Xinjiang town and brought Qingyu along with her when she went to her house. Her brother, Yun Yi, was currently grieving. Yun Jian brought Qingyu back with her just to keep her company by Yun Yi's side. Even if Qingyu stayed by Yun Yi's side and did not say anything, it was enough to soothe Yun Yi's anguish. Chen Yilan did not understand Yun Yi's feelings, just like how Yun Yi did not understand her lamenting about the past. Being stopped by Yun Yi, Chen Yilan could feel Yun Yi's murderous gaze. Perhaps it was because Yun Yi was a guy, but in front of a typical woman like Chen Yilan who thought that guys were better than girls, she felt that guys were bolder. Therefore, Chen Yilan dared not pursue Yun Jian for revenge. However, she was displeased and it was impossible for Chen Yilan to not find fault with Yun Jian because of this. Yun Yi could control her actions but she could not control her mouth. Therefore, Chen Yilan described Yun Jian as shameless in front of the group of women and old ladies. Oh my! I've never seen such a shameless girl. She's a student but she's living like a socialite. She's just like those girls in nightclubs who have no self-respect and self-respect. Chen Yilan was spreading rumors about Yun Jian in front of the group. She even waved her hand as she spoke, as if Yun Jian was really such a person. One must know that unmarried girls in the countryside valued their reputation the most. What Chen Yilan said was equivalent to trampling on Yun Jian's reputation. Perhaps it was because Chen Yilan's family was rich, the people around them listened to her without a doubt. Even when Qin Yiru interrupted to say, "My Xiao Jian isn't such a person," no one paid any attention to her. That kind of girl. Not only do she go to bars and nightclubs, she likes to brag too. Didn't she say that she never drives a cheap sports car that's less than 10 million? Does she? Does she? She doesn't. Screech. While Chen Yilan was speaking, a fiery red Ferrari flagship limited edition supercar drifted at a high speed, braked not far from the crowd, and stopped. The car door opened and a girl who was dressed neatly got out of the driver's seat. She was so beautiful that no one could take their eyes off her. The girl's appearance halted Chen Yilan's words. Chapter 2019. According to past practice, if anyone dared to be presumptuous in front of Yun Jian, they would end up dead. Dai Ani's tone was as flat as, "Have you eaten today?" But it sent shivers down Pan Qian, Emilianhua, Song Yu, and the others' spines. Gun, gun? Gun, gun? Is this a real gun or a fake gun? Pan Qian was stuttering, shaking violently. She was obviously spooked by Dai Ani's action of taking out a gun. This must be AF*King fake gun. I've seen a real gun before. It's really heavy. This foreign woman is scaring you. Say, Qian, how do you know this beauty? Aren't you going to introduce her? The boy who asked Pan Qian if she knew Yun Jian spoke confidently, even sizing up Yun Jian as he spoke. To attract Yun Jian's attention, the boy flipped his short hair. At the same time, Diana maintained her posture of pointing her gun at Pan Qian. She was waiting for Yun Jian's reply. As soon as Yun Jian gave the order, she would shoot Pan Qian dead. Once they heard the boy say that Dai Ani was holding a fake gun, the group snapped out of their fear. Pan Qian was no longer afraid as well. She reached out to slap away the gun that Dai Ani was pointing at her head, but the latter dodged it nimbly. So fast. One of the boys could not help exclaiming when he saw Dai Ani's nimble dodge. Kids, let me give you a piece of advice. Get out of Sister Jen's sight right now or don't blame us for taking your lives. Gue Lian spat coldly after a glance at Yun Jian before turning to meet Pan Qian and the others' eyes. Take our lives? Do you dare? If we die, you'll be in jail for the rest of your lives too. Pan Qian refuted loudly when she heard Gue Lian. After that, Pan Qian studied Yun Jian from left to right before she spoke again. You're right. Yun Jian, I don't know where you found this actor. His acting sucks. If you really want to be a gang leader and mingle in the underworld so much, then why don't you become the gang leader's woman? Since you already have a rich boyfriend, it doesn't matter if you hook up with another one. But that's definitely a disgrace to Team Monarch's Killing God title. Humph. Did your rich boyfriend buy you the title of Team Monarch Slashing God too? God knows if you're really that powerful. I think you'll be scared half to death when you see blood in an official gangster scene. Pan Qian glared at Yun Jian and continued to clamor. However, just as Pan Qian said this, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Seeing that there was no one around, she crossed her arms and coldly ordered Diana, "Listen up. Deal with it. Remember not to leave any traces behind. I still have to stay in Rivertown for a while." The 3 words dealt with were so flat that one couldn't feel the slightest rise or fall in it. However, this caused Pan Qian and the others to panic for no reason. "Why, you guys, don't get too immersed in the act. Let me tell you." Pan Qian stuttered as she pointed at Yun Jian and the other 3. However, before Pan Qian could finish her sentence, they heard the soft sound of a bullet being fired from the silenced pistol in Diana's hand. It was only then that Pan Qian and the others realized. "TTT, this is a real gun. It's a real gun." Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, and all the young men and women present were so shocked that their expressions changed. Just as everyone exclaimed and thought that Pan Qian's head was going to explode, Yun Jian's deep and sharp eyes suddenly flashed. She turned sideways and used her elbow to block Diana's hand that was holding the gun, causing the bullet to deviate from the trajectory that should have exploded Pan Qian's head. Pan Qian knelt on the ground in shock. However, just as everyone thought that Yun Jian saved Pan Qian on purpose because she was afraid of seeing a bloody scene, they saw Yun Jian snatch the silenced pistol from Diana's hand in 0.1 seconds. TSK TSK TSK. 3 soft sounds of the silenced pistol, including the shot that should have killed Pan Qian. There were a total of 4 shots. They accurately hit the 4 people who were hiding in the bushes and eavesdropping about 50 meters away. The 4 people were killed on the spot in front of Song Yu, Mo Lianhua, Pan Qian, and the others. Song Yu, Pan Qian, and the others widened their eyes in horror. She really dared to. She really dared to kill. However, before Song Yu and the others could scream, Yun Jian's voice, which was as cold as ice in winter, commanded Diana and the other 2 in a voice that was as cold as hell. Her voice was neither happy nor worried, and it was extremely cruel. "It's the people from Reverse Emperor. Chase after them and leave no one alive. A." Chapter 2020. Chen Ilan knew nothing about cars. She had only seen a sports car that was similar to the one Yun Jian was driving at a car rental shop. Sports cars all looked the same, so the price wouldn't be that expensive. Chen Ilan thought so. Therefore it was natural for him to think so. Car rental shops existed in every city. That kind of shop usually put the old cars in the shop for people to rent. For example, if you didn't have a car at home and needed a car today, you didn't need to buy a car to go home. At this time, you could just go to the car rental shop and rent a car to go home. The rental fee was also calculated by the daily fee. For example, if the rental car was an expensive sports car, the fee would naturally be higher than the car rental. If it was an ordinary car in 2002, it would only cost 80 to 90 yuan a day. Yun Jian's words just now caused an uproar in the hearts of the people present. Ferrari LaFerrari's flagship limited edition sports car. Most of the people present were from the countryside, so they didn't know much about it. But Yun Jian said that there were only 3 cars in the world, and the lowest price was 50 million yuan. Everyone present heard it clearly. "You only sold 3 cars in the world?" This came from a slightly knowledgeable middle-aged man. 50 million? This. An old woman heard this, rolled her eyes, and stammered. She was so scared that her whole body trembled for a long time, and she didn't react for a long time. 50 million. Not to mention 50 million, even if it was 500,000 yuan, it was still an absolutely shocking and astonishing astronomical number. As for Chen Ilan, when she heard Yun Jian's words, she had already rolled her eyes. Her whole body was muddled, and it was obvious that she was scared badly. This car was worth 50 million yuan? To be honest, Chen Ilan really didn't know much about cars. She was also a woman from the countryside, and was lucky enough to meet her husband, Hong Taishan, who was originally from the city. When Chen Ilan and Hong Taishan got married, it was considered that she married into a higher social class. Who in her village didn't envy her? Later, Hong Taishan set up a plastic processing factory and made some money back. He took a risk and expanded his investment in the plastic processing factory. There were dangers, but in the end, he made back all his capital. After making a fortune, the whole family moved to the big city to live. Chen Ilan also lived the life of a rich lady that others envied. However, if Chen Ilan followed him to live in the big city, she would be purely a housewife who knew nothing. When she said that Yun Jian's car was similar to the sports car she had seen before, Chen Ilan felt guilty. Because the sports car she saw was similar to Yun Jian's car, but it was much inferior to Yun Jian's car in terms of appearance. Now that she heard Yun Jian's words, Chen Ilan instantly felt like she had shot herself in the foot. Her expression changed drastically, and she looked so embarrassed that she couldn't bear to look straight at her. I've never seen a 50 million supercar before. Who knows if you're bragging or not? Chen Ilan said sourly. I didn't buy this car for 50 million. 50 million is the lowest price. I bought it at an auction for 300 million renminbi. Yun Jian said bluntly after Chen Ilan finished speaking with a cold smile. Since Chen Ilan wanted to compete, then she would play with her. It was a reward for Chen Ilan slandering her in front of those women. Unsurprisingly, Chen Ilan's face turned even paler after hearing this. However, it wasn't over yet. When Chen Ilan's face turned pale, Chen Ilan's husband, Hong Taishan, lowered his eyes and suddenly recalled what his brother said. This is indeed a Ferrari LaFerrari's flagship limited edition supercar. But isn't this one of the 3 supercars that were sold at sky-high prices at the largest international auction house a few years ago? I heard that one of the 3 supercars was bought by a top international business tycoon. The other one was bought by the 3rd richest person in the world. There's still one more. As he spoke, Hong Taishan turned to look at Yun Jian in disbelief. He swallowed hard and exclaimed in front of everyone, Yun Jian, you're the one who's going to die. The first 2 were bought by men. I heard from someone who knows the business that the last supercar was bought by one of the top figures on the International Secret Service assassin list. So, could it be that you are? Chapter 2021. Could it be that you are one of the figures on the International Assassin ranking list? Because the first 2 were men, their identities, appearances, and ages were all public. Everyone knew their background. Only the figure on the International Assassin ranking list is extremely mysterious. Rumor has it that the Ferrari LaFerrari sports car that the man bought was already reserved. When the first and second Ferrari LaFerrari were put up for auction, the highest bid was 500 million. But only the 3rd Ferrari LaFerrari was bid at 300 million, because no one dared to challenge the figure on the International Assassin ranking list. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. In that case, you are. Hong Taishan looked at Yun Jian with a panicked and helpless expression in front of everyone. His face suddenly changed, as if he had seen the Grim Reaper. He was so scared that his face turned pale, and his lips and teeth trembled. International Assassin ranking list? What's that? Yeah, Taishan. What's that? We have never heard of it. The surrounding old women all blinked when they heard Hong Taishan's words, indicating that they didn't understand. That was not strange. For these old women and women who lived in the countryside, their favorite thing to do was to gossip about other people's business. But most of the gossip was about who had an affair, whose child was admitted to a key high school, and whose child was so powerful. Or whose child was admitted to a university. But after coming out to work, there was no place for him to work. In the end, he could only do odd jobs. How pitiful. Some were complaining, some were gloating, and some were sympathetic. But these gossipy women were talking about nothing more than trivial things. Occasionally, when something big happened, such as a daughter or son in the village who died in an accident, they would talk about it as if the sky was falling down. Some would even gloat and say, "Serves you right. You make a lot of money, but you don't have the life to enjoy it." However, the gossipy women in the countryside were talking about these trivial and insignificant things. Usually, these trivial things were not worth mentioning. As for the International Secret Service assassin rankings, there was no internet or smartphone in this era, so the gossipy women had no place to learn about it. Naturally, they didn't know anything about it. When Hong Taishan heard this, he glanced at Yun Jian and said with some fear, "Agents and assassins are people who specialize in killing people. They are similar to the assassins in ancient times. It was the ranking of the most terrifying Secret Service assassins. Those who are ranked at the top have killed the most people and are more powerful. Some of them would even walk right past you, and you wouldn't even know when they killed you. It was a killing machine specially trained by some assassin organization. It was terrifying. Don't rich big shots often die suddenly in the world? Many of them didn't die of their own accord. They were assassinated. Every word that Hong Taishan said was explained to the people around him in great detail. It could be seen that Hong Taishan was a very meticulous person. Not to mention that Hong Taishan also liked to show off. Just by looking at Hong Taishan's meticulous manner, it was not surprising that he could develop a small plastic processing factory to its current state and become the key to his family's fortune. When the old women and women around them heard Hong Taishan's words, they even nodded with an "oh," looking very frightened. Chen Ilan's expression changed again and again. She knew that her husband Hong Taishan would not speak carelessly. However, just as Chen Ilan's expression changed again and again, and the people around them were looking at the scene in front of them, obviously frightened, Yun Jian's words suddenly came faintly. This group of people who were listening to a ghost story suddenly saw a person pretending to be a ghost. Similarly, their hearts were fiercely touched. Have you said enough? A. Chapter 2022. As soon as Zhou Huntao finished his words of admiration, a boy from the martial arts club punched Zhou Huntao and said with a chuckle, "Keep bragging. Your bragging won't get you. The chairman of New Cruise is so mysterious. He's a mythical figure that even world-class bigwigs want to meet. How could he possibly meet someone as ordinary as you? I heard that New Cruise rose to prominence in the past 3 years. I heard that it only took them a year to become the biggest car marketing company in Country Z. Then, it took them another 2 years to step onto the international stage. Now, they're a household name. Look, they're even on TV. But the chairman of New Cruise is really mysterious. It seems like the chairman of New Cruise, Zhang Zhifan, has been managing the company for the past few years. Whether it's the TV footage or the photos of the chairman of New Cruise, countless private investigators have tried to find out but to no avail. I really want to see the real face of the chairman of New Cruise." As he spoke, the boy began to sigh. To them, although they felt that they would never be able to meet the chairman of New Cruise in their lifetime, they still wanted to know what the chairman of New Cruise looked like, be it height, or weight. As they entered the year 2000, color TVs and cars were becoming more and more common. In this era, Country Z's economy was rising at a speed faster than a rocket. The people's standard of living had also undergone a drastic change to the point where foreigners were amazed. Therefore, it was not surprising that there were color TVs at this time. "We want to see it too." "That's right. I wonder when we can see the real face of the chairman of New Cruise. I'm so King excited." The members of the martial arts club woke up early for their morning practice. As long as there were no classes in the morning or afternoon, they would obediently head to the club's training ground to train. After a month, everyone's collective strength had improved by quite a bit. Everyone's admiration for Yun Jian grew as well. At the same time, everyone was surrounding Yun Jian as they walked back to school. No one noticed the slight glint in Yun Jian's eyes when New Cruise was mentioned. On the way back to the dormitory, Yun Jian parted ways with the members of the martial arts club. Unexpectedly, just as she reached the dormitory, Yun Jian bumped into Gun Yanji, who had come to Zhongqing to play with Yun Jian. "Ah! Yun Jian and Qing Yu had been abducted. I'm the only one left. How pitiful." Gun Yanji rushed up and hugged Yun Jian, pointing out that Qing Yu had been abducted by Yun Yi in exasperation. Because her roommates were in the dormitory, Gun Yanji didn't want to go up, so she dragged Yun Jian to go shopping. She even criticized Qing Yu for being unkind while they were shopping. As they strolled around, Gun Yanji forgot about Qing Yu's betrayal and dragged Yun Jian to the store to pick out clothes for Yun Jian to try. Gun Yan picked a miniskirt for Yun Jian once she thought about it. Seeing how excited Gun Yanji was, Yun Jian gave it a try. Just as she tried on the short skirt, Yun Jian suddenly realized that she couldn't pull up the chain in this kind of waist-tight skirt. In spite of it, Yun Jian did not think too much about it. She had been eating well for the past month, feasting on meat and fish every day. It was normal for her to gain weight. Hence, Yun Jian changed back into her own clothes and walked out of the fitting room. "Sister Jian, you're good. Why didn't you change into it? I think this dress suits you very well." You'll look beautiful in it. Gu Nianji asked in confusion. I can't wear it, it's too small. Yun Jian passed the skirt to the attendant. Ha! Too small? That's impossible. Sister Jian, you're so skinny. How can you not wear it? Gu Nianji came over to ask. As she spoke, Gu Nianji took the skirt from the attendant and circled it around Yun Jian's waist to try it out. Just as she did so, her hand touched Yun Jian's stomach. She looked up abruptly, her eyes glinting as she asked in surprise. Really? Sister Jian, your stomach is much rounder now. It doesn't feel like it's extra fat. You're not pregnant, are you? 8. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.